Hello, everybody. How are you? Can you hear me out there? Can you see me out there, or my picture anyway? Let me know in the chat if everything's good. Welcome in, everybody. My voice is not like on par today. I don't know what's going on. I feel like I went to a concert and yelled a lot. I don't know. So, yeah, if you can hear me, let me know. Thank you, Forrest. If you haven't hit the like button yet, please do on your way in, guys. Sounds good. Thanks, Rachel. Welcome into the mod team. Rachel is here and Forrest is here. Teresia, welcome in. It's been a minute. Welcome in. We've missed you. Um, Skedion. I always go to say it wrong. I'm going to pronounce it wrong every single time. We're going to say SG Hedinona, or I can say it Skedinona. I can do it all kind of ways. Sparky Pilot, welcome in. How are you? Guys, we got some catching up to do. Catching up to do. Things change quickly, or things happen quickly. You know what I mean? Things are moving, and especially in the Ohio case, with all the information coming out and things of that nature. Also, we're going to get into a brief update with the singer David and the Celeste Rivas case. He had court today. We weren't able to see it, of course, or we would have had it on the show today. I'd have been live, and we would have had the hearing. But anyway, they had the hearing and have moved things forward for a preliminary hearing in that case. Meanwhile, in the Ohio case, they have waived their right to a preliminary hearing, which was supposed to happen today. So we're going to get into it and unpack. Morris Mom Dog, welcome in. Oh, okay, lunch break. Well, thanks for stopping by and giving us some love there. And look forward to you catching on the replay. Thank you for that. Yeah, I'm live tonight. Today we're doing a nighttime stream. So I was busy yesterday, and then today I was a little busy and getting some stuff done. So anyway, we're here. And plus, I wanted to get some updates as much as I could on these cases we're following. And I knew David had his court appearance today, so I knew it wasn't going to be brief, right? It was this morning out there in California. But something interesting, I guess, because I was watching a local news clip. One moment. Just Nona is fine. Okay, cool. Thank you. You see, Nona, got it now. Now I won't butcher it. I'm so bad at this. Okay. So there was a local outlet that had a news piece, right? And they said, sorry, it started in my ear. Anyway, something interesting was said, and it took me back to where we knew, what we've learned throughout this case and a little bit in the Reiner case, but way more in this case, that there's problems between the coroner's office out there in California, or in LA anyway, and the police, right? They're mad at each other. They've got beef. There's something going on out there, and there's some anyway, there's court documents and stuff. There's all kind of crap. Well, so they, in this Celeste case, they silenced the coroner's office right away, right? They put the gag order on them and wouldn't let them release any information, and they were like mad about it. Anyway, it's a whole thing. Well, apparently, maybe some people in the coroner's office, they're alleging, actually accessed Celeste autopsy, from what I can understand, and they didn't have access to it, right? But they viewed it, and then there was leaks out there about what the autopsy contained. So there may be an investigation going on down there in the coroner's office. Like, y'all get it together down there in these offices, man. We're all having to pay the price when y'all screw up. All right, so let's watch that. I believe this was a report ahead of the hearing.
Back in court today for a crucial evidence hearing in the murder of a teenage girl.
Also, investigators are looking into allegations that workers at the LA County Medical Examiner's Office leaked sensitive details about the case. KTLA's Annie Rose Ramos is live in downtown LA with the details. Annie Rose, good morning.
Hey guys, good morning to you both. Well, 21-year-old singer David Anthony Burke, that's his full name, is facing multiple charges, including the murder of teenager Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Now, today, as you mentioned, is a pre-trial hearing. It really paves the way for a preliminary hearing that is scheduled later this month. And at that hearing, a judge will decide whether or not there is enough evidence to move forward in a trial jury.
We believe the actual evidence will show David Burke did not murder Celeste Rivas Hernandez.
That statement's wild that she said that, right? We're all like, what does she mean? Who did then? I don't know.
Burke's defense team there denying any and all charges at the arraignment. That happened a couple of weeks ago. Burke was arrested and charged back in April with capital murder and the death of Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Her remains were found last September, just days after what would have been her 15th birthday, in the front trunk of a Tesla registered to the singer. The girl's severely decomposed body was found in parts in bags inside the car. Surveillance video and other evidence confirmed Burke, the defendant, was the last person to drive that Tesla back in July, before he left Los Angeles on a concert tour. This, according to prosecutors. Beyond a murder charge, Burke is also charged with 1 count each of continuous sexual abuse of a child and mutilation of human remains.
These charges include the most serious charges that a DA's office can bring. That is first-degree murder with special circumstances. And there are additional charges against Mr. Burke, including continuous sexual acts, lewd and lascivious sexual acts with an individual under 14 years old.
Now, today's hearing, it comes at a time with more than a dozen employees at the LA County Medical Examiner's Department are being brought in and interviewed over allegations they viewed the medical examiner investigation files without permission before the autopsy file was officially made public, following media reports that included grisly details about Celeste Rivas Hernandez's case. This, according to NBC News investigation. The medical examiner's department, well, they are commonly known as the coroner, said they are not commenting on any pending investigations, including this one. Now, back here live in front of the courthouse, the court really doesn't open until later on this morning, and then we...
Okay, so that was ahead of the hearing, right? So they held the hearing, and you heard what she was saying about the coroner's office. So it's a medical examiner probe, and apparently NBC Los Angeles, I guess, broke the story that like at least a dozen LA County medical examiner employees are being investigated for allegedly unauthorized viewing and leaking of graphic details from Celeste's autopsy file before it was made public. That's very problematic pre-trial in a case. These people got to stop it with messing with our system, our justice system, right? That's grounds for appeal later and things like that. No, stop it. So the judge in the case was like meeting. He wanted to make sure that both sides were meeting, the legal teams were meeting with them to ensure that the defense successfully were processing the 40 terabytes of evidence, right? They all better get used to these large amounts of terabytes, and 40 is so, as that seems like a small amount compared to some of the other cases we've seen and talked about. Now, for now, the judge has got the probable cause hearing set for July 21st. We don't know if it's going to be televised or not. And it's supposed to go on for several days from what I understand. So we will see, and we'll keep our eye open. They've sealed the documents in this case, so we don't have anything to look at, read, go by, examine, except for all the extra that's been out on social media for forever about this case. So it's coming down to what's going to cut it in court, right? I'm curious to see how his attorneys will play this, considering they've come into court, and stood there and said their client is innocent. He did not murder anyone. So, okay, well, we'll see. We understand innocent till proven guilty, but man, oh man. Man, oh man. Hey, Butterfly. Look, y'all, Butterfly flew by to see us. We are so blessed. Thank you. We hope you're doing well, ma'am. We hope you're doing well. I don't know what's going to happen with this fallout or the fallout of the leak situation, right? It says here on this report, this administrative investigation may be addressed by the judge. I think it was addressed today by the judge. But anyway, like I said, there's no court feed or anything to watch. And nobody was like, there's only like a couple of accounts that I can follow that I know got good updates, right? So that's where we stand with the Celeste Rivas case. It looks like we got a preliminary hearing coming up and on July 21st. I don't know yet if we'll get to watch any of that. We'll just have to get the reports and report accordingly, right? So I'll keep you guys informed when we hear more about that. Now we're going to move into the next case, the case we've been covering, and the one that's got us all just going, what the hell is happening? We get those cases, they all are, none of them make sense, right? But sometimes we get those that just go, oh my God. This is one of those cases. All right. And we don't know enough yet, right? And there's a lot going on out there, y'all. There's a lot of misinformation out there, bad information, fake information. There's an AI video going around of these children being rescued from this home. If you see it out there anywhere, it's not real, it's AI. The police have not released any body cam in this at all. None of it's leaked. It's a completely fake AI story, right? I can't with these stories. Now, there are also some TikTok stuff going around that some of these kids had TikTok accounts and were able to read and write and could, because they were on the TikTok doing the thing. But the jury's still out on whether or not that's real or not. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I'm not going to dive into the weeds of this case because I feel like there's already enough here to make us go, oh my God, without adding to the drama. If we can verify these accounts for real, that even leads to more questions, right? So if some of these kids could read and write and had access to phones and internet, blah, 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 there's a lot to be asked in this case. And I think that's one of them if that's all pans out, right? Did you see one on Facebook? Yeah. I'm not sure where the video of them was floating around. I saw it. I mean, I knew it wasn't real, but I saw what people were looking at, and it was so fake. But I forgot. I don't know where it was being circulated at, right? If it was over there on the TikTok or the Facebook of it all. I don't know. See, when I tell y'all be careful out there, we can't be more careful today than we need to be more careful now than ever before, basically, right? You don't know who to trust half the time. We can't trust these images and videos we see. We can't trust the reporting that we're seeing. So I'm going to try to clarify between what we actually know and what we don't know, right? But what we're hearing. Because sometimes what we're hearing turns out to be facts later. Now, we kept hearing that Elizabeth had a child at 13, not 15. So I don't know how many people who are, actually follow the case or know much about it have heard a lot about it. So I'm going to just kind of give you a little rundown. This case happened in Hamden, Ohio, over in Benton County, over on Omar Street. We have the address, but it's just a house on Omar Street. There were 16 kids rescued from that house. 4 adults were charged. Each are held on $300,000 bond. Their arraignments were on July 1st, and then they were arrested June 30th with the arraignments on July 1st. They arrested Gary Siders Jr., 36, the father, ElizabethSiders, 33, the mother. Gary Siders Sr. would be 73, the grandfather, and Christina Siders was 67, and she was their grandmother. Now, we know that Gary Jr., the 33-year-old, and he was 36. Elizabeth was 33. They married when they were back in March 31st, 2008. He was 18 at the time and she was 15. She gave birth to their first child a few months later, okay? The first of the 16, or actually 18, we've learned. They got married over in Mason County, Virginia, because they weren't allowed to get married in their state. In Ohio, they had to cross the state line, got married with parental consent. A lot of people have been unpacking that situation, but she got parental consent at the age of 15 to get married across the state line. It appears not long after that, it appears she began to start losing contact with her family, right? That's all we know at this point. According to her brother, it's been 15 or more years since they've seen his sister. So it appears this separation from her family started pretty quickly. And they met because Elizabeth, at the age of 15, was living 2 houses down from Siders, who was 18 at the time. So they were neighbors when they got married and she had his baby. Now, the son that she allegedly has had a child prior to 2008, back when she was 13, and he does not appear to be Siders' child from the reporting that I'm seeing, and that would make him, guys, an adult, 19, 20. So he's not even a part of this 16 kids rescued situation. Turns out she had 18, but 2 passed away. We were speculating that the other day of going over the timeline of the children's births. We noticed the years where she didn't give birth. Remember, we were all wondering, were there births that were lost, things of that nature. I got to be careful with our words because YouTube's having an issue with this case. So y'all bear with me through all the word watching we have to do. I need to be sensitive because people, this is a sensitive case, so we all, try to do it with some delicacy if we can, as much as we can. All right, so there's a name out there for that oldest kid. It's a guy, boy, little boy, grown man now, whatever. But I'm not going to put it out there because I can't verify it's true. That's what's being reported. She had a son at the age of 13. So that would make him right now 19, 20 years old, guys, depending on when his birthday actually was. All right. So then now, she marries him at 15, has the first child with him a few months later. Actually, May 30th, a few months later. Married in March, had the baby in May. Now, since we were going over the timeline of all the births of the children, right? Some news outlets have found the death certificates of a set of twins that she did give birth to in 2022. Now, the thing about that is she gave birth to 2 twins in February of 2022, February 10th to be exact, according to records. Y'all, she gave birth to a second set of twins the same year, 9 months later. That was the set of twins who didn't make it. They were born 24 weeks, at 24 weeks, and from what I have seen online and read on the people who've seen the reports, these babies passed away about an hour after birth, and they were conjoined. Now, that puts her having 4 sets of twins back to back. Now, there are some reports out there, DNA tests have been concluded in this case, but I'm seeing not so fast on that, right? I've seen reports saying no, they have not. In fact, Paula Plunder put out a whole Facebook thing. If you're saying that, please produce your source, because we haven't seen any conclusive anywhere official DNA test done on these kids yet. And we question that because of the amount of children born and if they're all Elizabeth's, right? She says they're all hers. So right now, we have to believe her. Grain of salt. She could be saying that, I'm aware, but right now that's what the story is, according to her attorney as well. It's a very sad situation, y'all. And the more when you really look at it, it's like, what the hell? Yeah, we can go, oh my God, neglect and abuse, but what the hell was going on in that house? Did you see the amount of filth in there? The amount of, it looked like mental illness ran rapid in that house. And that is not an excuse or an out for any by any means. What the hell was actually going on? And how did this entire family fly under the radar? Because people knew of things. When do we cross that line where we get involved, when we see things, right? It's a social question here is the bigger question I'm seeing here almost. And it's not on society to fix this, but it's up to society to say something when we see something. But neighbors claim they never saw these kids. But at the same time, Dollar General workers saw them all the time. They just scurry them out of the vehicle quickly and into the home, and they did it at night, apparently, because they would go to the Dollar General just before closing. Were they only taking the kids out like at that time of night? And so nobody was really aware they were getting, they weren't taking all of them, Lord. Apparently it was a few at a time. And we're going to hear from the Dollar Store General employee, and we'll see what she says. Now, there aren't any past records popping up yet, except for Siders Jr., the grandfather, some traffic stuff. I think there might be a DUI out there from years ago. I'm not quite sure on that one. The traffic stuff, I think I saw something on that. So Christina Siders, the grandmother, a civil case. I think it's a collections case, honestly, where she owed money. All right, so, but there's some indications there may have been some DCF checks on them back in Wisconsin, and maybe they left Wisconsin and went back to Ohio because of that reason. I haven't seen verification of that yet. We're all wondering, with the conditions we're seeing and hearing about, were there ever any DCF reports on this family? Ever, anywhere, in the multiple counties throughout Ohio they lived at, or in Wisconsin, right? Where are they? Because if people were seeing things and became concerned and did report something, and those went, unchecked, or, oh, it all checked out, excuse us, Harmony Montgomery, much? We can ask that question later. But it's important to keep in mind if there was ever any reports on this family, how were those followed up on? They went to that house because they went to serve that warrant on Siders Jr., the father of all these kids. June 30th this year, they served a warrant for 4 counts of indecent exposure outside of his home, apparently, allegedly. May 23rd, there were 2 separate incidents outside the home, and again on the 27th of May, the 29th, and the 31st. It doesn't specify. We don't have the document. We don't know what he was doing out there. Was he going to the bathroom in the yard? Was he showing himself to people as they're passing by? What was going on in this out there, right? But it specified that it was to he exposed himself to individuals outside of his home who were not members of his household. Like, okay, so apparently people were complaining, right? We haven't seen those complaints yet. They haven't been made public. you can bet some of those local medias have been they're trying to figure out what exactly was going down. Because here's the thing, they noticed something I noticed right off the bat when this happened. When they said they were there to serve a warrant on him for indecent exposure, I thought, wait a minute, because if you're just serving an arrest warrant on him, you don't enter the home and search the home. You got to have a specific search warrant to search the home. Now, there may have been an indication once they got there something was very wrong and they applied for a warrant, right? You can do that on the spot and get the warrant and go in and search the rooms. So there's questions about this search, and not that like it's not valid. I want to know more about what he was doing in this damn yard, right? What's going on out there, Gary Siders Jr.? Whatever he did, thankfully he did it to draw attention to himself finally, and the cops came a knocking. There's some family members that know some stuff, or maybe not. Hey Carrie, welcome in. How are you? Valley Girl, welcome in. Anybody I've missed coming in, thank you for being here. If you're just watching and not, coming in for the conversation, that's fine. We appreciate that too. Like, I don't know what's wrong with my voice. It's not wanting to come out. Let me get a drink of my tea, guys. I wondered the same thing, Rachel, but I guess he made it a habit that week, right? Was this was it something he did regularly and that week someone didn't like it? Was that what it was? Tricia, okay, Rachel, Tricia thinks like we're thinking here. Using the bathroom off the porch, huh? Right out there in front of God and everybody in the front yard, and all right off the porch. Damn it, man. Lord help us all. I was wondering if it was that or, actual indecent exposure, because I don't think it would happen multiple times throughout the week without somebody crossing that railroad track and taking care of business, right? Carrie, you're making dinner? Oh, nice. I made dinner before I came on, so yeah. Now I'm kind of tired. Like, should I go to sleep? Maybe the smell was so strong it concerned them. It doesn't say that though, Forrest. That's the thing. Nobody. Now I'll show you. We're going to look at an aerial footage. An aerial view. Let me show you this. Actually, you can see the house there in the center of the image there. There was nobody in super close proximity. Y'all know what I mean? Like, you can reach out and touch some of your neighbors these days. Because I was curious about that type of thing for us. People who may have smelled something, saw something, heard something, right? So I looked and found these pictures on a local affiliate there. These are screen grabs they had out from their drone footage. I couldn't find their drone footage, or I would have grabbed it. But this house is sitting there on this lot all by itself, and the neighbors, in most rural areas, your neighbors are not on top of you, right? I've stressed out 1,000 times because that's where I live, right? I got neighbors, but they're not close by. They're down the way. I gotta yell. I gotta get one of them bullhorns like Betty and yell across the pasture at these people. So, yeah, I don't know if anybody was close enough to hear or see things on a regular basis, This image was from that same outlet of the back porch, the back area there, and there was just as much, there was garbage on the back porch as well. Then there was this one. I just tried to grab views all around the house that we could, refer back to. There's the front porch that you guys were saying, because that's a little road. That's the Omer Street, or whatever, Omer Street. Was it Omer? One day I'll get it right. That's the tiny little street along the railroad track, and that's the porch where he was going to the bathroom from, in front of everybody. Okay. And this was a view from inside of the home. It's already a small house, right? Jesus alleged one bedroom according to Zillow and all that. No floor plans available, but it's listed as a one bedroom. But stacked all the way up past the windows with stuff, right? When you hear the attorney for senior talk about this house and the way he talks about it, I'm gonna say, did he see these pictures? I'm just asking for a friend, sir. Did you see this? And there's a lot more out there, trust me, that the media was able to zoom in and grab for the world to see. Now, this is the mom, Elizabeth. No, and the reason I got this one pulled up for us, because you may have seen it circulating. This is the one of her mugshot where people have noticed this bruise, what appears to be a bruise on her arm. There's speculation as to what it is, what caused it. Was she grabbed? My first instinct when I see it, a band like that, was, it's hard to say. Was it a handcuff mark? Was it a tie down? Was it, I don't know what to make of that. You know, it's obviously very different than the other arm. I don't know. People are speculating about that. Now, there's a photo also going around out there of Elizabeth from when she was younger. If you've seen it, the photo comes from her mother's Facebook post, August 24th, 2020, wishing her daughter Elizabeth a happy birthday. Happy birthday to my daughter Elizabeth. It's hard to believe my youngest is 28 today. Love you, Mom and Dad. Lori Russell is her mother. She looks very different, doesn't she? This picture, the girl in the middle, allegedly, is the daughter of the Siders couple, Senior and Christina. That's Gary Senior on the right, Christina on the left, grandparents. The girl in the middle is their daughter, Gary Jr.'s sister. This picture appears to be taken on the front porch of the home. Now, according to reports, it was a Facebook post back in April that is now a deleted account. I don't know, I can't confirm that. But if you look at the chairs and you look at the porch and you look at the house, it appears to be the same house. Those chairs appear in other photos, and there's a cat food bowl underneath it. And I saw a photo out there where the cat food bowl was absolutely full, I tell you, while they're out there buying vegetable oil and sugar at the dollar store every night at closing. What do you need with all that vegetable oil? What are you cooking? Apparently nothing, because your babies were all starving. Wonder what you needed all that vegetable oil for. We don't want to look at all their asses. But that's the gist of who these people are. Now, there's a brother-in-law that has spoke out, but I don't know that he's the husband of the lady we just looked at in the middle there, the Linda lady. Linda, listen, Linda. Listen, Linda, you might have some explaining to do. According to Lori Russell, the mother of Elizabeth, Linda is the one who would reach out to her each time that Elizabeth had a new baby. So over the years, she's allegedly kept in contact with her, right? Every time there was a new baby or set of twins born, she would let her know about it. So people were aware these kids were all being born. Brother-in-law, who said they helped out with the water bill and even a car, never knew a physical address in over 7 years for them. I don't know how to reply. I don't even know what to say to stuff like that. I don't mind you helping with the water bill and giving them a car, but you haven't had a physical address in over 7 years and you're helping pay the bills and giving cars out. And ain't asked no questions. Red flags. Maybe time we should start asking questions, you know. Joey Russell is the brother to Elizabeth, and he was one of the ones that commented on Facebook about these posts about these kids having TikTok accounts, right? And he said, we have been told, these kids can't read and write. So what's going on out there? We don't know. But that post did pop up with him talking about that. It's been reported that Gary Jr., the father to the kids, was a DoorDash driver. I don't know if he was a current DoorDash driver when arrested, had been in the past. Some were speculating that he was when he married her, and some were like, DoorDash doesn't exist back then. And I've seen no documentation that he worked for DoorDash currently. If he did in the past, I don't care. What does that mean to me? Nothing. He could have worked down at the Dollar General. He could have worked down at the gas station. I don't care. What does it matter? Now, from 2008 until 2022, from what we can tell, they did spend some time in Wisconsin, but they mostly lived in Ohio, but in different counties, right? They would move around to these counties. Now, were they moving around county to county to avoid DCF knocking at the door? And so they're just like, we're just moving, right? DCF's like, oh, look, those people moved. We don't know where they went. Is that how it works? They can come knock on your door and say, we need to, we have a complaint. We need to check things out. And then you're like, oh, okay. And then you leave and they come back and you're just gone. And they're just like, oh, okay, never mind. There's a lot to ask about that. Like I said, we'll get into the DCF of it all later, which when I say that, it is Department of Children and Families. It could be called various things state to state. The people who investigate child abuse, let's put it that way. Those departments, we'll have to unpack later how much they knew and did not know, how much schools did and did not know. When was the last time any of these kids ever attended a school? I'm sure authorities are trying to unpack all of those records that may be out there. Did any of them ever attend a school? Did they start out going to school? The oldest ones, we don't know. Elizabeth's mom, Lori, is the one who posted the photo, like I said, of her birthday there. And then both of her brothers had posted on Facebook. And we know one was saying they hadn't seen her in 15 years. And like he had just met this Gary Jr. recently. Yeah. So they didn't even know. It appears her family didn't know them and see them, right? Or didn't see the family. But it appears that some of Siders' family at least visited the home at one point and did know of things, but nobody ever saw things. Go figure. Families don't get together on the holidays. Easter, Christmas, birthdays for Granny. Nothing. We're having a barbecue. Y'all bring all the babies. We'd love to see them. Maybe not all families are like mine. I don't know. Why were they buying that vegetable oil, y'all, according to the Dollar General? That bothers me. Could it be because there's 120 calories per tablespoon and 14 grams of pure fat? One of the most calorie-dense foods available. It's odd that they would just buy vegetable oil every night. If true, I don't know why the Dollar General lady would lie to me. And sometimes sugar. Sugar. And water. Sugar water for them babies? What are you doing there, girl? I don't know, y'all. It's very odd purchases to me. So let's get into a little bit of the videos that we have. We've got some questions and talking points. If you guys, it's a lot, right? I know. And all of us are having a hard time wrapping our head around this happening and how it could happen and go on for as long as it seems to have went on. And the fact that this girl has given birth so many times in all of these years, and in 2022 twice gave birth to twins, that would it's a wonder she did not die during childbirth, y'all. I am if it turns out when they complete DNA If it turns out every single one of these children do belong to her, it is a miracle that girl's alive. And any of you mamas that's had 1, 2, 3, or 4 or more babies, y'all know what I'm talking about. It can take a toll on your body if you are not careful. You have to take care of yourself. Y'all know all the things. I can't imagine her being in the best health during each and every one of these pregnancies. They're too close together. Her body didn't have time. Her body didn't recover. Her mind didn't recover. I'm not making excuses for her. I'm being honest about what a woman goes through during childbirth, what your body goes through, right? Can you imagine doing it all these times, y'all? 18, good God, from 2008 all the way to 2025, you get 18 children and you get 4 sets of twins. Could you imagine they would wreak havoc on your body? My 3 back to back wreaked havoc on my body. I was like, damn, I gotta take a break. These babies is killing me. I love them, but damn. Right? And that last one decided he wanted to be a C-section. Shit, what? Of course that boy had to be a C-section. And guess what? 15 years later, when I did it all over again, that boy decided to be one too. I couldn't imagine 4 sets of twins and 2 sets in the same year. Unbelievable. And like I said, pointed out in the beginning, we have the clips from the news station there that obtained the death certificates on that set of twins, born at 24 weeks. They were the conjoined twins. And and right before did I show this? Let me get this out of the way, so to speak, because we looked at everything else. Okay, before we went on, I got this. Now, I need to go let me go check out this post really quick. It's going to help us get through this part of it. So like I said, they had their preliminary hearings today, right? They all waived their right to the prelims. Now, Elizabeth, the mother of the children, alleged mother to all the children. Now let me get to the okay, here's where I need. All right, so she waived her right to the prelim and has asked for a jury demand, right, to go before the grand jury now. Now comes the defendant by and through on behalf of counsel and hereby demands a jury trial in the above entitled cause. My headset is snagging. Stop that. Sorry, God, about ripped it off my head. Now comes the defendant by and through on behalf of counsel and hereby demands a jury trial in the above entitled cause provided for in Ohio Revised Code 2945.17 and protected by the 6th and 14th Amendments. So she's asking for the jury, right? The grand jury. Now, apparently, though, so Lauren Conlin got this 4 hours ago on X. She says, and she's where I got the document from. Shout out Lauren. She also kept me informed this morning on the David stuff as I was waiting for that to pop off. I knew she would be out there, or her colleague would be covering it. Anyway, prosecutors also moved to appoint Highland County Prosecutor Annika Collins as special prosecutor. So they got a special prosecutor coming in. ElizabethSiders attorney Thomas Stolley filed the jury demand, which is here that you see on the screen, while Siders Sr., the grandfather, attorney asked the court to reduce his $300,000 bond, citing his medical condition. They've all 4 pled not guilty. So there you go. That's where they're at right now. Asked to reduce his bond because of his medical condition. Sir, you're in a wheelchair and you got the weird face and you're scary looking and you can't hear. I don't know what to tell you. You should have flagged down some help by the side of the road because your grandbabies were suffering. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. I can't. Reduced bond. Was he a victim too? Oh boy. Was he elderly abused? Are we going to do that next? I couldn't imagine warming up to Pawpaw. Couldn't imagine warming up to... Oh, Pawpaw's quite scary, and I'm not even trying to be mean. I'm like, that's... No. It's just something about him has got the weird, creepy vibe. And I wish it didn't, but it did. I don't know about Grandma over there. Jury's out on that one's mind. I don't know. I don't know which of these two grandparents were they abusers and their children, or at least one of them grew up to be an abuser, or did it come from Elizabeth's family, or is it a mutual thing? Y'all can't break the curse kind of thing. I don't know what's happening. But you lived in the home, and that's disgusting. So I hope they don't come out with this elder abuse shit. These two are victims somehow, right? All the utilities are in Grandma's name. The grandma on the left there. So there was active water and garbage and electricity. It's in her name. People are unpacking who owned this house. There was another lady who owned the house. There was some. Did we talk about that in the last show? The family doesn't own the house, from what I understand. The house belonged to a trust of some old lady. I don't know. So there's a whole backstory to all that. But that's where the family's been living for the past 4 years after moving around throughout the counties there. All right, so now we'll get to watching some of these updates through the videos here. Yeah, older generations did have a lot of kids. Yeah, they did. Carrie, you're wondering if she had some sort of Stockholm syndrome. She could have. We can't say no yet. Hey, Jay, how are you? Welcome in. It wasn't uncommon. Teresa, who was that commented? Was it Tricia? I have a relative. Let's see, that lady had. It was more than a dozen kids, right? It was not uncommon for large families back then. If you look at, okay, so she gave birth every year, right? But my problem also is going to, then you go all these sets of twins back to back to back. No, no. It would have. I don't know if they're all going to turn out to be hers or not. We don't know yet. We hear with the DNA testing still out. So yeah, it don't look like she took very good care of herself. I wonder, in the questions I do have, what about her prenatal care? Was there any? Was there a doctor? Was there a clinic involved? Was there a health department at the least? Did anybody ever suggest birth control to this girl? Or your tube's done, girl? Never? Did she say it was against her religion? I'm just asking. What about hospital staff that took care of her during all these childbirths? Because they allegedly were all born at hospitals. So nobody ever got a red flag. Was there ever a report made? Is what I'm wondering. Not blaming hospital staff. They turn out women. If you didn't have a C-section, 24 hours, hey, take that baby on home, right? And we can do that for the most part. I don't know how much they saw, how much they would have noted, or enough to call DCF or make a report. How much was their involvement in the past in Wisconsin and Ohio? What about school records? Did any of these kids, the 2008, 9, 11, and 12 births, did any of those kids ever attend school in the beginning of their lives, right? Did they ever get that at least a couple of years in before things went south with these people? That's the questions I'm still wondering about that we don't know yet. Because if these kids were enrolled in school and then suddenly taken out, they could have moved to a different county, and people aren't going to know to ask questions, right? So there's a lot to wonder about. One thing I did wonder about Elizabeth, though, when she was going through all of her pregnancies, if she's giving birth at hospitals, I wonder about the amount of prenatal care. And did any of those doctors, if she ever saw one for prenatal care, did she just show up at labor and delivery in labor? Did she ever have prenatal care? Did any of them ever notice or note depression in this girl through adult womanhood? I'm just curious about that. And I also wonder why none of the neighbors ever saw them, but the Dollar General employee did. But then I wondered, okay, if they're only going to Dollar General at night, that may explain why the neighbors aren't seeing them, because these kids never got to go outside and play. And we took a look at the aerial view around the house. It's not, they're not close by, so I don't know what the neighbors were hearing right outside of the house. Because you'd think 16 kids, they might get loud, a little rambunctious, but these kids apparently didn't know to play and, you know, get loud. I get 3 boys in this house and it gets super loud. But yeah, I don't think these kids were having that kind of fun that these kids have. Poor little things. Makes us sick. And I wonder if that sister-in-law was really notifying Elizabeth's family every time she had a new baby. Were there any attempts to reach her? On Elizabeth's mother, right? Oh, hey, your daughter had another baby. Oh, another one? Did she ever hang up and call her daughter or try? Did you have another baby? I'd love to see the baby. Can you send me a picture? Can I come visit? What, you need any help? What's going on here? Honey, why you collecting babies? What's going on? Maybe she didn't have a way to reach her, but the sister-in-law did, so why not? She's just like, no, I don't want to speak to my family. Don't tell them where I'm at. There was reports out there that Elizabeth did reach out to people saying, remove my photos from social media, take my post, take down posts about me and all this stuff. Like she didn't want nobody knew she existed. I'm like, that's so weird for that to be happening if that happened out there like that. And if Gary's family was in contact with them, why did they never see these kids, especially if they're helping out with the bills, right? All right, so now let's take a look at there was a couple of interesting news clips that came out, and then we saw the attorney talk on the other show we did, Elizabeth's attorney talk, and he was saying, she didn't say she was a victim, but these charges against her are not accurate, basically. Well, Anjanette Levy on Law and Crime did a piece, and she interviewed the lawyer for Gary Sr., and he said it had some interesting things to say. I was like, sir, are you, good Lord, sir. I don't really got nothing nice to say, so I won't say it at all, like my mama taught me. uh, I feel like I should be that way tonight because I don't want to get carried away. It's YouTube sensitive to this topic. All right, let me get that one out of the way. We're done with you, David. We're done with you, David, until your prelim. Okay. So this is a report about the arraignments today. We're going to move through these reports, and we'll look at what the neighbor or the Dollar General lady had to say, the brother-in-law that spoke, the news agency there did some deep diving and got some documents. We're going to look at that stuff as well. So let me get this all set up. And we can at least be caught up until something else, they get their grand jury indictments or whatever is going to happen over here. And they'll talk about the grand jury process there in Ohio. So it's different in every state. People can tell you a lot of things, but just know it's different with every state. They do meet different times of year, different grand juries, different things. So will it go before the grand jury? Will they do an emergency grand jury? Things of that nature have to come into play. All right, let me which one? The grandma supposedly has dementia. So grandma's got dementia and Pawpaw's got handicap and he can't hear. Lord, so these two are about to get out. Maybe they didn't know nothing, right? Maybe they're just old and dementia and can't hear. How convenient, come to think of it. So yeah, they didn't have a choice, right? They're just victims. Maybe. If she's diagnosed with dementia, there was a doctor involved. Is there a diagnosis? Where's this doctor? Was he ever alarmed about her care? Did he ever meet her caregivers? Because I've taken care of a grandparent with dementia that moved into Alzheimer's full blown until he drew his last breath. So I know there's doctors involved. Huh. Got dementia, old lady? Hope you can back all that up with doctors. Same for you, old man, with the handicaps. Because I ain't got no sympathy for none of these people right this moment. Not even, it's going to be hard for me to gain any for that mama, even if I understand her trauma. Y'all know what I'm saying? It's hard. So I'm trying to be nice because YouTube's already like, this content is weird. Or what are you doing? Calm down, YouTube.
Hi, everyone. Good Tuesday afternoon. It is July 7th, and we appreciate you being here as we have just gotten an update from our reporters in the courtroom. You may remember last week we told you about 4 family members in the state of Ohio arrested and charged with child endangerment charges in Vinton County. Now, this all comes after investigators say 16 children were rescued from that home. And we're going to kind of catch you up because there was supposed to be a court hearing today. It's what's known in the state of Ohio as a preliminary hearing for all 4 defendants that were charged with those child endangerment charges. We have just gotten word that they have all waived their right to a preliminary hearing. And I'm going to break down what that means for you because Legal 101 is sometimes difficult and hard to understand. So let's go ahead and catch you up here as we have this for you. So these are the 4 people that were arrested. There were 4 family members last week that were arrested after investigators were serving a search warrant at a home in Vinton County on Ulmer Road there. And so when deputies got to that home, they found 16 children who were allegedly kept isolated in a 12 by 12 room. Investigators described those conditions as deplorable, pure evil, and we know that many of those children had to be taken to a hospital for care, 2 of them being life-flighted. The others were evaluated by medical professionals. Investigators say those children likely didn't leave that room for the last 4 years. 16 children. So we told you last week that ElizabethSiders, Gary Siders Jr., Christina Siders, and Gary Siders Sr. were all charged with 16 counts of child endangerment. Last week, a judge on behalf of all 4 defendants entered a not guilty plea for each of them. So they had a chance to meet with their attorneys, confer, and all of their bonds were set at $300,000. And like we said, this all came after police executed a search warrant at the Siders' home in the Hamden area of Vinton County. That was part of an ongoing investigation. It's what investigators are calling a parallel investigation. We still, at this point in time, do not know the exact reason why investigators were called to that home to begin with. That's a question that we're still working to learn, but it's one that investigators have held back from releasing because they say they don't want it to let it compromise their other investigation. And so when we get to this point, we said that all 4 of those people, all 4 Siders, were charged with 16 counts of child.
So they don't want it to compromise the parallel investigation of the porch peeing? So are we sure he was just peeing off the porch? Because we haven't seen those reports officially from law enforcement, right? If it was simple peeing off the porch, would it be such, like, you know, like we don't want it to mess up our parallel investigation? That's a simple investigation. I go ahead and arrest him on that too and charge him. What are you doing?
Endangerment charges. So what was really the next step in their court appearances today? They were all expected to have preliminary hearings. In just minutes before those preliminary hearings were expected to start today, the judge that was in charge walked out of the room in court and addressed the members of the press that were waiting there and said that all 4 have waived. Their attorneys are present, and so That was really the update that we had. And so let's go ahead.
You know, one more thought. If that old couple had the disabilities and the dementia, they have other children. They're letting their mom and dad live in these conditions with these two as caregivers? Really?
Kind of break you down. If you don't know what a preliminary hearing is, that is essentially those are usually scheduled maybe 10 to 15 days after a person is arrested. And at that preliminary hearing, a judge reviews if there's enough evidence to determine probable cause. If you are criminally charged, you do have the right to waive a preliminary hearing. And what that does essentially is it sends the case to what is called a grand jury. And that is where a prosecutor presents the evidence to a grand jury. Grand jury is made up of, it can range anywhere from 12 to 16, even 20 people who essentially meet to decide if there's enough evidence to formally charge a person with a crime. The formal charge that you often hear is what's called an indictment. And so at that point in time, there's not usually attorneys present when the grand jury is meeting. That is really just the prosecution. And so they have to have enough evidence for a grand jury to say, yes, we will formally charge the person with a crime.
Lady, you can indict a ham sandwich, ma'am. She needs to get on with it. So there's the gist of her reports. There's the cats hanging out on the porch. You can see the green chair. Remember the photo I showed you of their daughter, Gary Jr.'s sister, visiting the home, visiting her parents, sitting in the chair there you can literally see the cat food bowl under the chair where she's sitting. But the cats had food, but they're out there at the Dollar General buying vegetable oil every night.
And so today we were expecting to have that preliminary hearing, and what comes next is all four of those defendants, all four of the Siders, will now have their cases sent to a grand jury. Grand juries typically meet. It depends on the county.
Okay, we all know what a grand jury is. I think we understood this process better than she did, maybe. She kind of took her a minute to get through that. But anyway, so there you go. They did have that this morning, and they all waived their preliminary hearings going before grand juries. And we already know that Senior is put in for a bond reduction. So don't be surprised if his wife puts in for one. I don't know who her attorney is yet. We haven't heard from her attorney or Junior's attorney that I know of. Elizabeth's attorney, yes. And now Senior's attorney has spoke up. Sorry, I was looking for something that was supposed to be on my desk that is not. Okay. Oh, okay. Let's get. That cat had more freedom and food to eat. Yeah. Yeah. And remember the law enforcement at the press conference said that they had livestock that was taken, better care of than these children. And then, you know what? The attorney for Senior didn't like those statements made about his client's housing conditions. Well, we're going to take a look at that. Yeah. Watch these defense attorneys, y'all. They're slick. I don't know if he saw the condition of these children before he goes to meet Junior or Senior, rather. He said he couldn't visit him during the holiday because the jail wouldn't allow it. Dude, you should probably actually wait until you get your discovery before you come out making statements. And what are you doing here? Okay, so this one, let's see. We're going to get to him in a minute, guys. This is what I wanted to show you. This is a local station, again, that had a... Come on, act right. So it was a local NBC4 station. and they have some stuff we're going to look at. Doing their deep dive over there. Okay, so this is what they came up with in the case. And when did the, hang on. No, I'll do it in a second.
16 children found in what officials describe as third world conditions, a term some find offensive, but investigators say applies to this house. Some of the children reportedly unable to speak. Others had to be sent to the hospital, at least one in very serious condition. People in the village of Hamden in Vinton County tell us they're in shock, and family members say they had no idea what was going on. Thank you for joining us for this special look at the child abuse case in Vinton County. We're going to have in-depth coverage for you in the next half hour or so. I'm Colleen Marshall. We're going to take you inside our coverage in Vinton County, not just our interviews, our discussions with some of the investigators in this case, but also with some of the people who live in Vinton County.
Wait, you guys got what's going on? That was my first ever ad on my live. I got an ad break too, Valley Girl. Really? I don't know. I don't ever mess with that. Maybe I should look at stuff. I don't mess with that stuff, so I don't know why you would get them. I have YouTube Premium, so you guys shouldn't be seeing ads unless you don't have Premium. Then you're gonna see an ad, but I don't know what's going on there. Maybe I should check my studio, because there's notifications that'll come in and let you know about updates about stuff like that. So I have to go check things out for you guys. It's worth the occasional ad. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. All right, so yeah, this is our local station, and this was very recent information that they put out. And there's actually a couple of reports, some pretty good reports they've got locally. Like, these people are like, we're nosy, we're not playing, we're getting the goods. So if there's documents to be had, they're getting them, right? So I'm relying heavily on their reporting right now in a couple places, on a couple of other places I know to go look for good, y'all know me, I want documents. If y'all know me enough, I want the goods. I want the documents.
Who were unaware of what was happening.
While she's talking, I'm going to mute for a second. I'll be back on in a minute, but I'll join you guys in the chat.
In that house, you're even going to hear from a family member, the son-in-law of the elder suspects in this case. We have an exclusive conversation with him. I'm going to be joined by Isabel Cleary, the NBC4 investigative reporter, and digital reporter Katie Millard. We want you to know where things stand as of today, July 6, 2026. And we're also going to walk you through what has happened up until this point, beginning with a look at the timeline. Officials served a warrant on the house on Omer Street in Hamden, Ohio, on the morning of Tuesday, June 30th. At this point, we still don't know what the original warrant was for in that case. We're going to have more information in a few minutes about criminal charges now pending against one of the 4 suspects. Inside the house, though, officials say they found 16 children confined to a 12-by-12 room in what they described as deplorable conditions. Some of those children did have to be hospitalized. Investigators described them as feral, saying some of them were unable to communicate. 4 adults on the property were arrested and charged with 16 counts of felony child endangerment. Gary Siders Jr. and his wife, ElizabethSiders, and Gary Siders Sr. and his wife, Christine Lynn Siders. Siders Jr. is also facing multiple charges of indecent exposure. All 4 suspects have pleaded not guilty. Now, we were able to talk with another family member. His name is Ronnie Fletcher. He tells us he's married to the sister of Gary Siders Jr., the daughter of the elder Siders in this case. He says the extended family first learned about the conditions in the house when the rest of us learned about it, after that news conference, after this story broke. He tells us what was going on inside that house should not reflect on the rest of the family.
And my wife would take the last $5 out of her pocket and buy somebody a meal and chance running out of gas to get home. If we didn't know this was that way, we would have helped. I mean, they're breaking down good people and taking off of their kids' plate. It ain't right.
After the break, you'll hear more from him about the people who are spreading misinformation, and there's a lot of it online. And I'm going to be joined by our digital reporter, Katie Millard, and investigative reporter, Isabel Cleary. They've been working on this case since day one, and you'll want to hear what they have to say about where the investigation stands and where it's likely to go. Welcome back, everyone. I'm joined now by our NBC4i.com digital reporter, Katie Millard, and the NBC4 investigative reporter, Isabel Cleary. We're going to take a deeper dive into some of what they have found out about this case. First, though, I want you to hear again from Andy Wilson, the Attorney General for the state of Ohio, because some of his comments are relative to the reaction we've been getting.
What we saw down here today is pure evil. It really looked third world. It's the type of thing that we're not used to seeing here in America.
Well, when you have the Attorney General of the state of Ohio calling this an evil situation, it didn't take long for people to react. Not just the people in Vinton County, but really all over the state, all over the country. And Isabel, you've been following some of that on social media. And as disturbing as this is, you've uncovered even more disturbing information.
That's correct. And if we're going to talk about social media, we do want to say briefly that this has gotten a ton of attention across social media platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. And there are images and videos being shared that are not part of this case. So we want to ask you to just kind of really take precaution when you're looking at these things, because there's AI out there, there's photos from other cases. And I actually spoke with a former FBI special agent who said that this really can actually end up re-victimizing the victims in the case.
Yeah, and you showed me some of these images that are, when you say they're not part of the case, they're just not true. They're made up, right? There were images of children being held in chains in a room. None of that's true, right?
The law enforcement in this case have not released body camera footage, or in this situation, if that was ever released, minors' faces would be blurred, but they have not released anything like that. And for that to be part of the speculation, the former FBI agent I spoke with, it can actually, hurt the case. Investigators are focused on finding, what is real, what is accurate, and how they can uncover what actually happened. And this is just drawing national attention to something that really isn't part of the case, when really the concern should be around protecting the victims.
And Katie, you have seen in your experience, haven't you, how something like this trends. And as disturbing as these images are, people almost want to believe them, don't they?
They absolutely do. And something I'm seeing that's really interesting is that things keep getting shared on social media to the point that they almost become fact when they're not true at all. We were able to obtain about 6 birth certificates for some of these children who we, of course, are not going to name.
Children born in a hospital to a very young mother. She's only in her early 30s now. The oldest child we know is 18. So it's not surprising, is it? And I'll ask both of you this. It's not surprising that people start filling in the blanks with their own information when we're having so much trouble getting factual information at this point because they're not releasing it yet. It's not surprising that people want to know the full story behind all of this, right?
I actually had the chance to speak with Gary Sr.'s attorney, and he said the state has been pretty limited with the information they're sharing. He wanted to caution people, if he doesn't know it about his client, it's pretty hard to believe that it might be true or false. He just doesn't know.
His name is Dorian Baum. We actually have a soundbite from him that we would like people to hear right now, because his contention was all of the information that came out actually in the news conference, when these people are being called evil, when they're being compared to a third world country, which some people find very disturbing, when they're being called, basically compared to raising these children in the worst possible horrific conditions, and that's out there from the investigators. He says this can affect the case. Let's hear what he had to say about that.
All those statements that were made by law enforcement, all those statements that were made by the state apparatus, that is the very definition of hearsay. They may want to try to win this in the court of public opinion, but that's not where this case will actually be tried. It'll be tried at a court of law.
So I can tell you from a legal perspective, there's always a concern about what information is going to be out in the public. This will eventually be heard by a jury. So, Isabel, I know you've been looking into the conditions in the house. You were down there near the house. As limited as the information is, what have you learned?
So of course we cannot see inside the home. The photos we've seen have been kind of through doors, through windows, but we were able to get property records for this house. We were able to see, how big the rooms were, where the kids were maybe kept, because we did hear that the 16 children were found in a 12 by 12 foot room. So there's a room in the back of the house that we believe they could have been kept because that most accurately describes the conditions, or potentially in the basement if there was another wall put in. But again, there's no construction records for this. That doesn't mean they didn't necessarily do it themselves, but we do know it was an old house. We also were able to learn that the home had running water and the sewer and trash service was active as well. The bills were tied to ElizabethSiders, which is the 66-year-old, the older woman.
So the bills were in the old lady's name, but you can see how just through the windows of this small house, how much stuff was just piled and piled and piled everywhere. I don't even know how the adults moved around in the part they allowed themselves to roam around in. It is deplorable conditions. And if these older people are victims of elder abuse and kept in these conditions, shame on their other children for never, ever doing a damn thing about it, especially if you were sitting on that front porch recently with your mama and your daddy. You knew. Don't tell me you didn't go inside that house and see that shit.
Suspect, and we knew that they were being paid, as well as with the house, the property taxes were being paid as well. We don't know specifically who was paying them, but the house itself was in the name of a trustee.
And we don't know the source of income for this family. We don't know, do we, how these bills were being paid, but you learned, did you not, that they've been here at least 4 years in the house?
Yes, investigators did confirm that, and the property records showed that the bills were up to date. The last one being a little over, $900, and it was up to date and paid, so they wouldn't have, people alleged that water was shut off, things like that, but we were able to confirm water was running.
Now, so we know they had a landlord. You wonder, was anybody checking on this house? And Katie, you also have to wonder, that many children, was anybody seeing if these children were getting any kind of an education? Even if you homeschool, you have to have lesson plans and testing turned over to the state. Is there any record of any kind of education or state contact with these children?
So our sister station, WOWK, was able to have an in-depth interview today with a man named Ronnie Fletcher. Now, he is married to Gary Jr.'s sister. So he is very familiar with the family, and he said under his interpretation, they were just being homeschooled. The state has been slow to come out with records, the county as well, about these CPS checks, about the information that they're willing to divulge about who was coming to the home and who was checking on what. But the brother-in-law, who, again, our sister station spoke with, said he had not known a direct address for this family for more than 7 years. And as to those bills, he said the only time they were really in contact was when they would call and ask, can you help with the water bill? And of course, he said that they were helping because had they known,
So, see, that's the guy that's the brother-in-law that said they would help with the water bill. And in one interview, he even said they had given them a car. And I'm like, but you didn't know where they lived for over 7 years, but you're helping with the water bill. So how often did you speak to them? Did y'all never visit? Nobody ever gathered for family gatherings? Nothing? It's crazy to me. I mean, even if you don't got to have a lot of money for families to gather on special occasions. Remember, like I said, what about the Christmas and Thanksgiving and Easter and grandma's birthday? Bring the kids over.
Says they would have helped in any way possible. He just says they didn't know.
And you got to wonder, how do you not know? And not to say anything against him, but this is such an odd situation. I think it's time we should hear from him. Here's what he had to say when he talked to someone at one of our sister stations. Again,
they're about to talk to him. Sparky, they're claiming these births were all at hospitals, and they have birth certificates for these children. So the question we were asking earlier was, that's what I said, what about her prenatal care? Was there any at all through a pediatrician, through an obstetrician? Were there any follow-ups for any of these? You know how babies are born. They got to have their 2-week follow-up, right? They have to have their baby shots if you do your vaccines. Have any of these kids ever had a vaccination? Have any of them ever had a prenatal follow-up appointment once they left that hospital? Their milestones marked, all the y'all know, mamas, y'all know all the things. So what kind of records are there out there on these kids, right? I am sure they're trying to find all that out. I doubt there was a lot of follow-up medical attention in this house with anybody.
This is the brother-in-law of Gary and the son-in-law of the older Siders. Here he is.
I mean, quit making stuff up that ain't true.
Nope.
Quit harassing people that had no idea. We can't hardly have our phones on because everybody's calling us, and I mean, it's not right. I mean, they are stopping good citizens that are, related to these people from taking care of their kids. So at this point, I feel they're in as much wrong as these people are.
One of the incredible parts of this story is the apparent nature of the size and makeup of this family. We know there were 16 children in a very confined area. And Katie, you say those aren't the only births for the young woman and Gary Siders Jr. in this family, were they?
No, they were not. So we were able to obtain birth and death certificates for 2 young twin girls who were born and died tragically on November 20th, 2022. Now, they were born right next door to where we're filming this right now at Riverside, and there was no indication that any sort of abuse led to this. I cannot stress this enough. The death certificates say it was natural. These children were born 24 weeks in, conjoined. That is just sadly not a situation that a lot of children can survive.
Right. And they, again, the multiple births in a short amount of time. We don't know the physical condition as well of the mother. She is in custody. But you have been looking, Isabel, into how this all came about. And also, there are criminal charges in an unrelated case pending against Gary Siders Jr. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so Colleen, we know the day of that search warrant was part of an investigation involving allegations of domestic abuse and child neglect, separate from the case that really has caught national attention. But Gary Siders Jr. actually has different charges he's facing, and that is for indecent exposure at the home you're seeing now, and it's on 4 separate dates in May 23rd, 27th, 29th, and 31st. And again, that was just at his home address.
When you say indecent exposure, was it to family members, or is this to someone in the general public?
We are learning more about that. We believe it's the general public, and we have asked for more information and are waiting on that.
And I know we're going to be carefully covering these court cases as well. And I emphasize the question I'm about to ask is speculative. But in cases like this, not that there are that many cases like this, but in a case when there are suspicions of child abuse or any kind of domestic abuse, There are very often mental health examinations of the people involved. I know we've heard from the attorney from.
Some say he was using the bathroom off the porch, but I'm thinking, is that it? Because criminal charges pending, parallel investigation, they're not saying much about that incident. That's what brought them to the home. It's there to serve a search warrant on Junior, the father of all the alleged father of all the kids. Serve a warrant on him for 4 counts of indecent exposure. We don't know we don't have any documents telling us what that exposure was, but some of the chat were saying they were hearing going to the bathroom off the porch. Well, apparently it was the day someone documented the days, twice on the 23rd, then a separate incident on the 27th, 29th, and 31st. So, but if they had, like I said earlier, if they had an arrest for indecent exposure, that's at a physical arrest of the person. To search the home, there had to be a whole separate warrant. So I don't know if they applied for a warrant on site or if they had a warrant to search the home going in, because they didn't know those kids were in there till they went into the house. So if they had a search warrant to search the home accompanied with the arrest warrant, there was more going on than some indecent exposure, in my opinion. I think there would be.
ElizabethSiders Sr., we don't know yet, do we, if the other attorneys who will be representing all 4 people in this case, if they're going to ask for those kinds of examinations. Do we expect that to happen? Have either of you had any indication of that?
The brother-in-law did discuss a little bit about some possible mental health issues in the home. He said it was autism or something. I don't want to be specific because he was not even specific, but about Gary Jr. And he also was able.
So that was the first time I heard that, right? Gary Jr. There was some talk about him maybe having some autism. So now Grandpa's got some stuff. Grandma's got some stuff, and now Junior's got autism. Maybe, allegedly. Oh. Now, I haven't seen any official reports about that, and this is the only place I've seen them even say that. But she's reporting what a family member told her of Gary Jr.
To confirm for us that Gary Sr. had a stroke not that long ago. So we don't have a time frame on that, but we do know that that affected him cognitively. The brother-in-law suspects, again, this is not from investigators, this is from a family member who was not that active in the home, did not know this was going on, he says, but he believes that once that stroke happened, that's sort of when the abuse really spiraled because.
So they also say that Senior has had a stroke. When people speak about his health issues, yes, he's in a wheelchair and he can't hear, but she's saying he's had a stroke. And then since that time is when everything went downhill for this family. Like that's what caused it. All those children were born before that. It appears by reports they were probably malnourished long before that. So now we're just like, now it's going everywhere, right? Exactly. Like they don't, that's like them trying to slip that into the Koberger defense. Stop it. The man was in college, right? Don't even. We're not buying it. We know better out here. Yeah, we'll go back and review it again because people did live on the street, guys. So when you're wondering how can anybody see him, because I wondered the same thing when we go look at the map, when you go look at the footage and the aerial views, you can see it. But there's neighbors nearby, but not right next door. So the people are passing by the street, up and down that little. And it's a tiny little road. It's a very tiny little road right along the railroad track. So anybody could have rode by, right, and saw him on the porch relieving himself, but twice on the 23rd and the 27th and the 29th and the 31st. It's very interesting, isn't it? What that document comes out, we sure will get it.
He had received a photo of some of the children from about 6 months ago, and they did not look to be in the conditions that were described by investigators.
Yeah, and I know, Isabel, you have talked to investigators, and we could tell from the tone and the nature of the initial news conference that they found this situation to be very disturbing, didn't they? And were stunned at the number of children who were there. Were they shocked by all of this?
They were. The way they described the home is just, they were in shock describing it, and they did not expect to come upon 16 children. They were there, serving that search warrant, which we are trying to learn more information about.
They're serving a search warrant and had no idea these children were there. Huh. Okay, we sure need to get our hands on that search warrant, that arrest warrant.
But again, they said they didn't know the 16 children would be there, and that's what kind of sparked this larger investigation.
Let's listen to what the Vinton County Sheriff Ryan Kane had to say about all of this.
Our mission is to protect our citizens and our children. The scene is horrific, and these are horrific allegations. We will do anything in our power to hold those accountable to justice.
Clearly, the sheriff, the other investigators have found this to be so troubling. Isabel, what about the people who live there? The neighbors, some of them?
My question, Dolphin, because they have to have probable cause to search the home. So if they were there with a arrest warrant for him, that's fine. Arrest him, right? But to search the home, that's a whole different warrant. What were they looking for if they had a search warrant already prior to finding the children? Or did they get suspicious while there, which prompted a on-site search warrant to be asked for? So that's my question too, Dolphin. And that's why I want the documents to figure that part out. Was there what was that search warrant for, if there was an actual search warrant for the home already in place? That means I think there was more going on than relieving himself on the front porch, right?
Did they tell you they had any awareness of how many children were in that house?
We are told they did not really see the children outside. They did not know about this situation. We plan to continue speaking with neighbors and see if they will share anything else with us. But when I was at that house before.
So I've noticed in these photos the boxes and what they all look like. And I know what those boxes are, because there's a church down the street, and there's one over in, there's a couple of them, and they'll do them on online. They'll promote it or whatever, and they do the food giveaways, and they'll put them in those types of boxes. So I was wondering, are the adults eating donations from church pantries and stuff, and the kids are getting vegetable oil? What the fuck's happening with all these weird? And why are you collecting? They had trash service, so why they have all those boxes just sitting around? Why do you got the kids in a 12 by 12 room? But damn, move the boxes and you may have room for your children. Just saying.
There's a lot of interest, whether it's just people in the area, people driving from outside the area. People will drive by and take photos of the house. So we do know people are very interested, but we are working to confirm facts. We are not going to tell you speculations. We are not going to share, some of the fake images you might be seeing. So we are working to speak with the neighbors, speak with the authorities to make sure we are bringing you the most accurate, up-to-date information.
And Katie, this goes back to, again, those unfounded and really unfortunate images that are going out over the internet, all the social media posts. I know you follow that very carefully. Have you ever seen anything quite like this?
The social media aspect is always fanatic in a case.
Always fanatic. That's a good word, girl. Dolphin says, does Junior have a sketchy past? Not that we have seen. We were wondering about past child allegations, right? DCF type stuff, investigations, but we haven't. Nobody's been able to find those reports and get them yet. These news media people are trying. There is a word that there may be some reports out of Wisconsin that prompted the move to Ohio, and then are back to Ohio where they were from, and then maybe moving around the counties because of that. But we haven't seen that yet. But as far as the dad, or even or either Gary Sr. or Jr., nothing yet about a sketchy past, other than I think there was some traffic stuff for Senior, and the grandma had some civil stuff where, people sued her for money that she owed. Yeah, Teresa, you don't need a warrant for pissing off the porch, do you? You certainly don't. Like, we know better, don't we? We know that probable cause is a little more than that, right? So what do you need to go in his house for if he was just peeing off the porch? Go get him. Go arrest him on indecent exposure. Would he get a citation for that if he was peeing and not like exposing? You know what I mean? I don't know. It's weird, right? Something's not right. We're not feeling it.
Like this, but this is truly something I have not seen a lot of the same level of. People are coming up with all sorts of things that seem to just not be rooted in fact. I'm sure a lot of them are rooted in care for this case and want for the best of these children. But for example, I'm seeing all of these rumors about
Dolphin, the way most of them do it, they just, I don't know how, I think it's different for a lot of places, but you don't even, I don't even know if they were reporting all these kids. So they may have just asked them how many's in your household, right? And they could say any number they wanted to, I guess, unless they required proof from the family. Some probably go more in depth than other locations will. They won't even ask a lot of questions. They'll just give them a box of food, right? You're gonna, that's, it depends. So there's not a lot of documentation that's followed up with, like, on a serious level with these pantries. They just need to know you're not lying about your household size and that it is what it is, and you're going to get your box accordingly. So there may be some records of where they went to the pantries, but those boxes look just like what pantries would give out, because they stuff a lot of stuff in those boxes. They have a big one up here in the country. It's like the farmers do it or whatever, and they give away a lot of produce and stuff, and they'll use the same boxes, and they'll put it all in, and cars go up there and get it.
TikTok pages that some of these kids allegedly had where they're writing all these paragraphs. We know from investigators that the children were largely illiterate. The eldest of them cannot write her name. So it is highly unlikely that those are actually TikTok accounts by those children. Just a simple example where the facts don't always align with the rumors that are speculating so wildly on Facebook.
Well, the two of you, just like the investigators, have to sort through a lot of misinformation to try to get factual coverage of this really sad, horrific case. I thank both of you for sitting in, explaining. We're going to be talking to you, I'm sure, in the future about what you are uncovering in this case. Isabel, I know you've been down there and will be there again. And we're going to come back and take a look at what might be the next steps in this Vinton County case. Stay with us. Welcome back. Well, we want you to know what comes next. All four of these suspects in the Siders family are scheduled to be in court on Tuesday, July 7th, for a hearing at 1 p.m. At some point, all of these charges will have to be turned over to a grand jury for a more formal indictment. And of course, we'll be covering that when it happens. We've heard so far from only one of the attorneys representing.
Same, Sparky, I was wondering if she did ever apply for benefits. Did she report all the kids? Right? What did they report? What were they receiving? Did they even bother? We don't know that part.
The Siders. We might get more information as this court case proceeds and that hearing gets underway. Of course, we're going to be following all of it. NBC4 is your place for accurate coverage.
Yeah, Dolphin, a lot of the food pantries are run by the churches, and they're not trying to get all deep into people's business like that, like the state should when there's a complaint filed against a parent for neglect or child abuse. But a food pantry, they're there to feed the poor. Their heart's about, they But they do, some of them do require proof of family members, but some just how many's in the household, what's your household size, here you go. And there are like those drive-through places like the one up here with the produce and stuff. But yeah, kind of the system they set up for us when hurricanes happen, drive through to get your ice and your water. So it is what it is, you know.
Coverage not just of this story, but all of the breaking news that makes a difference for you and our community. We thank you for being with us for this special report. You can continue to follow this case as we will follow it on air, online, and on our NBC4 Columbus streaming app.
No, Dolphin, we suspect they're moving around. They lived in Wisconsin for a while, and they've lived mainly in Ohio, but through different counties out there. And we don't know if they were getting reported to DCF, Children and Families, if that prompted moves. No one knows why they were moving yet. If you can move, if you're within this, when you're getting benefits for your family, I think it's still state. A lot of it's state, you know, county to county, yeah. But I don't know. I don't feel like these people's end game was to get the money out of the government, right? All the food stamps and all the checks coming in. I don't think that was their end game here. I don't even know if it was on their radar to do all that, honestly. I'm not saying they weren't receiving some type of assistance. They probably were if they look like they sure needed it. Children certainly needed it. It's a lot of kids to feed right there, and I don't think a DoorDash income is going to feed all those kids. So if she's smart, she'd took her ass down there and got her some food stamps. Certainly needed to hit them pantries up and not be giving them vegetable oil, allegedly, maybe.
Thanks for joining us.
Okay, so that was that report, and they had some good information in there, and they brought the interview with the brother-in-law and everything. They had been at this place around 3.5, 4, right about 4 years, I think, is what I was saw in the reports, Forrest. So they've been at this location for at least 3.5, 4 years now, and they lived in some other neighboring counties around there. And Elizabeth and Gary only lived 2 doors down from each other when they were, 15 and 18 when they got married. So they have deep roots right there in Ohio in those counties. So we still don't know the background of all of it yet. These agencies, though, these news organizations that are there, they're already looking into it. The counties they can confirm they lived in, they're looking to see if they can pull up DCF reports, all the things that matter. They're trying. They're the ones that, you know, confirm, because I knew the report was out there about the twins. I saw the grave marker and everything with their names, but it was finally confirmed when the media says they have those certificates, right? And they gave the year and the day, and I was like, huh, that's 2 sets of twins in 1 year. That's wild to me. Even if that was true outside of all the other kids, 2 sets of twins in 1 year alone, all by itself, is crazy. It might be, well, they've had these kids for, 18 years. They've had, so a lot of years to move around, a lot of years to need a place to live with all these kids. So they were probably in some of these locations for a little period of time, you know what I mean? But yeah, they were serial movers, probably to dodge what they were doing to the children. As soon as the eyes got upon them, they needed to move, right? Would be my guess. My theory. My theory. That's my theory. A lot of times now, Dolphin, when they're born, you apply for their social security numbers. Used to, you did it while you were in school. Like back when I was like young, they did it while we were in school. They didn't do it automatic at birth. All my kids are grown, and it came right along with being born, right? So if they were all born at hospitals and had birth certificates, chances are they all have Social Security numbers, and chances are she was drawing some benefits on all these kids. But that's not, to me, that's not even the story right now. You know what I mean? I'm not shocked or surprised that that's happening. I expect it. Look at that house in those conditions. They need us. They got a lot of mouths to feed. Like I said, a lot of babies in the house. That milk is not going to last long. And the price of groceries right now is astronomical. They're out there fucking buying vegetable oil. Okay, so fucking vegetable oil every night. The fucking shit. All right, this one has. Let me see if this is the one that I. Okay, let me get this one. Okay, we have a couple things we're still gonna watch, but I wanted here's let's watch this. Okay, this is the Dollar General employee because none of the neighbors saw the kids, right? And the Dollar General employees did, but apparently they came in at night just before closing, and they did not appear to bring all of the kids with them. It was a couple of kids, right? Maybe one in particular, and then a couple of other of the kids. But the Dollar General employee is going to describe what these kids would look like, right? Yeah, Rachel, back in 89, exactly. Yep. Okay. Every night, regular customers buying water, vegetable oil, and sugar. Huh. No diapers, no wipes, no milk, no bread, no bologna, no box of cereal, no dozen eggs, no fucking bag of candy, vegetable oil. The fuck? Gary, and she wasn't allowed to talk to anybody. And then the kids look like this. Well, hang on. Let's.
That. And when she came in with the kids were all very thin, very, very thin.
Hang on. Hang on, I'll straighten this ass up in a second. I messed it up. I knew I was going to do that. I don't know why it does that. Okay, you can stop now. Because I wanted to hear what she said again. Let me get it. Oh, Lord. Hang on. It makes me take it down and bring it right back up sometimes when I do that. I don't know why it gets stuck. Take but a second. But I'm wondering still. Okay, if they're like the only people that saw these kids, like even on a regular basis, don't know that these kids came into the Dollar General every night with them, but they did come in, right? And were they the only ones that ever saw these kids? Okay, let me get it back to her. There we go. We'll start it right here. All right, let me get it back up so you guys can see it. If they came in every single night and they smelled that, what would y'all do? Would y'all report them? Offer more hygiene products? She said they offered them clothing and hygiene products. Apparently, the family took them because it says they never seemed to put them to use. So I'm assuming the family took them. Oh, damn. Yeah, damn, Dolphin. Damn. Where they must not have had a lot of income, y'all. If they can only out here affording the bills, sometimes needing water bill help, but they're going to go out and get the vegetable oil every night. Was he door dashing in the day to get the vegetable oil money? Ugh.
Because it was so potent. Like, they could have left the store 5 minutes ago and the store would still smell.
Oh
Now
my
she
God.
says her focus is
After they left the store, the smell would still be there 5 minutes later. Oh, no, 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 no. No. For real. The neighbors weren't that close, Carrie. Let's see. We'll look at the picture again. Hopeton Hamden can begin to heal. Oh, okay. We'll end that one there on that note. Okay, so if you look, guys, at this, there's the house right there, right across from the railroad tracks on the tiny little road, right there in the middle. There's not a home super close. There are neighbors around, and things you can see that in the image here. So people are traveling this road, probably riding by and seeing him peeing off the porch. But as far as the neighbors seeing something, smelling something, hearing something, I don't think they were getting a lot of that, right? These rural areas, you're not right on top of each other like a lot of you may be accustomed to. It's really not that close. Like, it's not. I'm fields away from people. But yeah, so I don't think anybody was really seeing or hearing a lot. And there's nobody right directly across the street, like another home that may be out on their front porch occasionally having their coffee or tea or whatever and could see what was happening across the street. No nosy neighbors, unfortunately, right? A lot of these neighborhoods are going to have that. I would know. I'm in the rural area. I'm going to know if a strange car's on my road, especially my tiny little road, right? But so I'm assuming whoever the indecent exposure complaints were from are going to be, people who travel that road on a regular. Huh. It was the back porch there. I don't know why. It's crazy. Like, I don't know what we don't know the conditions. We've been described the conditions of that 12 by 12 room. What about where the adults slept? Was that any better? Right? Was that any better for the Okay, whoa. Y'all wanted to listen to what the attorney said on Anjanette Levy's show. Dolphin had mentioned watching Law and Crime with Anjanette Levy. So after we spoke earlier, Dolphin, I did go check it out and I skimmed through to see what was up. And I saw that she had the attorney on for Gary Sr. So I wanted to share that. I'll pull it up to that spot, to that location. Because we heard from Elizabeth's attorney already, right, in the past show, that I've met with my client. She's concerned about her kids. She asked her about her kids. She's didn't say she was a victim, but pretty much he's like, y'all haven't heard the whole story. So I thought it was interesting. Let me get this to where I need it. Interesting to hear from his attorney and his remarks about the case and the way it's been presented to the media. What, sir? Did you just give away your work product angle, maybe? Is this where she brings him on? Let me make sure I get to yeah. All right, hold on one second, guys. Okay, this is him. What did she say? Dorian Bell? He will be the attorney for Senior. Okay.
That is the grandfather in this family. Dorian, thanks so much for coming on. You haven't met with your client yet. Tell me a little bit about why, and have you even been able to speak with Gary Siders Sr. on the phone?
Yeah, thanks. Again, thanks for having me. So, unfortunately, because of the holiday weekend, the jail was actually not permitting people to come in and visit with inmates. That includes attorneys. So the first opportunity, and that actually includes today as well. So unfortunately, the first opportunity we'll have to meet with Mr. Siders will be tomorrow. So my intent is to get down there and see him as soon as possible tomorrow.
Your client, along with his family members, is facing, 16 felony counts, second-degree felonies of child endangering. It's been described as a really awful place where these children were being kept, a 12 by 12 room. The sheriff, I believe, said there were feces all around. There were flies on the kids. The sheriff said livestock are kept better than these children. What is your response to that?
Well, I would say there's multiple responses. The first one, I do want to clarify for anyone who might.
Why was he smiling? Look, Simi, Creepy McCreeperson was smiling. Oh, well, let me say this. What do you got to say, sir? Let us hear it.
Be seeing this. They're currently facing a complaint with 16 charges, which is actually an amended complaint from
a complaint, y'all. It was actually an amended complaint. Make sure y'all get it correct.
An original complaint that was 17 charges. And that complaint, in the state of Ohio, you have the right to a grand jury proceeding whereby you have to present facts to a grand jury, and a grand jury will return an indictment if they think there's probable cause. So at this point, they're facing criminal charges in a complaint, but that is not what the state can proceed forward on if they were to go to trial. So first and foremost, the state still already has that extra hurdle to get over. Now, naturally, getting past the grand jury hurdle is not always that difficult, but it's not unusual for a complaint to show a certain number of charges or degree of charges, and then once they get to the grand jury, it becomes something vastly different. So we'll have to see what happens when they get to grand jury. That's the first thing. The second one is,
and that's
does he think that grand jury's gonna go like, oh, there's nothing here. We'll indict a ham sandwich, but not this. Okay, let's see why he thinks that might. So they might come back with more harsh charges. You never know. Let's see what he's got to say.
But that's a really low bar. It's probable cause.
Absolutely.
Is the bar at a grand jury.
It's a low bar, but to say that I haven't seen no bills or that you see charges at the complaint stage as felonious assault, for instance, then by the time you get to a grand jury, maybe it's only aggravated assault, which is 2 full degrees less. So you're right, it is a low bar, but to say it's not a bar at all would not be correct. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the state has provided what can only be described as a modicum of the evidence. We have gotten so little from the state at this point. As has been reported, we've already filed for discovery. We're asking for the state to provide it to us. I've had some minimal communications with the state, but from what I've seen, to be perfectly blunt, when I see a press conference where the state AG is making these hyperbolic, extravagant statements about what he saw, where the sheriff is talking about livestock, is just simply
hyperbolic statements talking about livestock. So when they compared the children's conditions, right, the living conditions, our livestock have better living conditions than these children. He doesn't like that. That's hyperbolic. That's already that jury poll, right? Don't put that shit out there in their heads. He's mad about that.
It's beyond disingenuous, frankly. It appears to me, from what I understand, that these people are really just trying to criminalize poverty and an extremely impoverished family.
They're trying to criminalize poverty and an extremely impoverished family. No, sir. No, God, no. That's not what I'm seeing there. There's poor people out there that have a very clean home, probably cleaner than the richest lady sitting here watching me right now. Just saying.
As many people in the media have already noted, and have already discovered the kids who have been described as feral, been described as illiterate. It's my understanding that as the internet does what it does, it's come out that these older kids had social media pages, Facebook pages, Snapchat pages, which speaks to a couple of things. Number one, if they're so illiterate, how are they posting things online? Number two, if these are kids who are trapped in this place, how are they able to have? Typically, when you see cases where people,
if these kids are trapped, sir, you need to be a little more delicate with your words. We don't know. We're hearing tale of some TikTok accounts, but we're also hearing tale of a fake AI video of those kids being rescued that we know isn't real. So I'm not. We don't know what condition these kids are in. We know that an 18-year-old couldn't spell her name. That doesn't mean she couldn't half-ass spell. I don't know. We don't know for sure what any of their abilities were. There's so many of them that need evaluating, right? He's just coming out with a lot of arrogance right now, in my opinion.
People are trapped or they're not allowed to go do things freely. They're not given internet access. They're not given social media pages. Furthermore, I have seen the inside of this house. I'm pretty sure that the state AG did not see the inside of this house, because when he was making these descriptive statements about what he saw or what he smelled, I'm going to go ahead and guess that he was getting that secondhand from a number of people.
She's showing the images of the house while he's saying this shit. Like, I've been in that house, sir. How could you stand the smell, right? Is he going to say that's normal? They're just poor. Poor America lives like that? No, they don't. No, they don't. Not all people live like that. My God.
And I think for him to come out and again make these hyperbolic statements without himself being really a part of it was just frankly inappropriate.
Well, the AG said he was outside the house. He didn't go in. What have you seen of the inside of the house? Because we're just seeing the photos that were taken, their press photos from the outside of the house. And
Jeanette's like, what have you seen of the inside of the house? Because we've seen stuff, sir.
Obviously, it does look like it might be a little bit unkept. It looks dirty. But what have you seen that you are disputing the characterization of the 12 by 12 room and the feces and everything where these kids were kept?
Oh, yeah.
So again, unfortunately, because of the very preliminary stage of the game, everything we've been sent essentially is marked as counsel only, which means I can't actually disclose full details of what I've seen. I can, however.
It's been marked as counsel only, which means I can't disclose the full details. Sir, you're talking to Anjanette Levy, not an amateur. Okay.
Say that I believe the characterization is overblown. I think when you describe that the outside was certainly unkept or was, perhaps looking dirty, I think people can look at the pictures for themselves and see that. But it's not illegal for something to be dirty. It's not illegal for a home to be unkempt. If so, I would suggest there's going to be a lot more people out there with criminal charges they're facing if simply having a few things out of place is really the standard. I mean, that's not
just simply having a few things out of place. This dude, what kind of attorney is he? He's Fantasy Island attorney. Okay, well, we'll let him be. We'll let him be.
The standard for felonious, for secondary felony child endangering. So, they have quite the burden, I think, to show what they have been describing in their various news conferences and press releases, etc.
What if they have photos from inside this 12 by 12 room showing the conditions that we have heard described? What if they have photos showing that, sir? Which are... I was going to make fun of his hair, but that's so shallow. But Jesus, he needs to do something. It's doing something weird.
I think having some pictures of a place being dirty is not going to cut it.
Well, they said they were in a 12 by 12 room though, with feces and flies all over the place. So I mean that's pretty gross. And 2 of them were taken to a level 1 trauma center. So that's pretty serious. I know the other children were treated and released from area hospitals.
That's right. And so again, that at this point, we haven't gotten any documentation to show where they've been taken, what the basis for their hospitalization was, if in fact they were hospitalized. I don't know what the status is of these children, because again, the state hasn't shared that information with us.
So he knows nothing, but he knows that house was just a poor person's house. Y'all get over it. Nothing to see here. They're just poor. They like boxes.
So, there was clearly a lot of children there. And I'm not going to come out here and suggest that I know exactly what was going on there, because I don't. And that's really the main point, of course, isn't it? That none of us were there. None of us were living there. The state did, I will say this to his credit, Prosecutor Archer, who is the county prosecutor down there, was very specific in saying that this was not an alleged trafficking case. But there's rumors that are flying everywhere about what was going on with these kids, what was happening to these children, whether there was other specific bits of abuse going on. And to date, I've seen no actual hard evidence to show there was any specific abuse that was being done to these children. Again,
no, sir, they went to the hospitals to all be evaluated to try to figure out the extent of their abuse. Extent of their abuse, not to see if abuse occurred. Abuse clearly occurred. Malnourished, pale, white, near death. A couple of them flown to hospitals. The hell's this guy talking about?
And whether the question is that these children were in a home that was dirty and that rises to the level of child endangering, whether it rises to a certain felony level, that's something the state's going to have to prove, obviously, beyond a reasonable doubt. But I wasn't in this home. I personally wasn't in this home, and that's why I'm not going to speak to what it smelled like or looked like specifically. But we don't have...
Didn't he say he went in that house or something earlier?
All of the evidence.
Then Jeanette's like, oh, you went in there? Well, what did you see to dispute what we saw? Now he's like, well, I hadn't been there to see... Sir. Look, enough of this lying shit. We got the government can't even be honest about that old man's health. So we've normalized lying in America now. It's weird. Stop lying.
We don't have anything that's showing that these kids were locked in a basement or anything of that nature. This is not what people are trying to portray as a case where these kids were, chained in the basement or something like that, something extravagant like you might see in a horror film. It wasn't that. That wasn't the situation. As far as my understanding. So I think, again, we all need to take a step back and let the facts actually bear out.
So your client, Gary Siders Sr.
From what I know so far, Dolphin, these are public defenders being appointed. They don't have any money. So, because Elizabeth already has her attorney. We have not heard from Senior. I haven't seen anywhere yet of Junior's attorney or Christina's attorney speak out. So this is Senior's attorney, and then, like I said, Elizabeth's attorney has spoke out, but they are public defenders.
We saw him when he was in court for his initial appearance, and he was in a wheelchair. Do you know anything about your client, about his physical state, his health, his mental state?
Frankly, I've seen what you've seen, which is I saw it appears that he has limited mobility. My understanding is that he had difficulty hearing. It also seemed that he had difficulty understanding the judge. So I have some of the same concerns that anyone else might have looking at a person whose competence might be in question. As anyone who knows anything about the law knows, the very first step is to ensure that your client is competent. You can't move forward otherwise. So one of the basic tenets of my criminal defense of Mr. Siders is going to make sure that he's competent to even stand trial, let alone any of the other defenses we might raise. So I guess the short answer is no, I haven't been able to talk to him yet. I don't know anything other than what everyone else has seen, which is what happened at the arraignment, what took place there, et cetera, et cetera.
Tommy Stolley, the attorney for ElizabethSiders, I saw him in an interview, and he said that her first question was, where are my kids? She wanted to know where her children were. It wasn't how much time am I facing or anything like that. Have you had any discussions with the other attorneys in this case regarding their clients and their reactions to this?
Yeah, I mean, I've had some, again, brief initial discussions with the other attorneys. At this point, it's obviously we are all representing the individual interests of our individual clients, but they are a family. So
Right.
It's my gut feeling that in many cases their interests will overlap. So I have had some discussions with the other attorneys, specifically again about some of that very preliminary discovery that we've all received and what our general thoughts are. I sort of make it a point not to talk to other attorneys about their client-attorney conversations, as that is, of course, privileged information and confidential. But it's not surprising to me that a mother would ask about the condition of her children, bearing in mind that, these are people minding their own business, and a litany of officers come rushing in with guns.
They were just people minding their own business, and all these cops come in with guns. Thank God, sir.
And arrest them. Don't let them, check on their kids first. I can imagine someone like that being concerned about their children.
Gary Siders Jr., your client's son, faces 4 counts of public indecency. He's accused of exposing himself at the house to people who were not his family. We know about that, but law enforcement has been tight-lipped about what initially brought them to that house, the search warrant that was being executed. Those documents are sealed. Do you know anything about this parallel investigation that brought Ohio?
A sealed document for peeing off the porch? Huh. That's wild. Yes, I will show that picture in just a minute, Rachel. That's wild. Sealed document for peeing off the porch. What is our justice system coming to?
BCI and the sheriff's department to the Siders home?
Unfortunately, I don't. And as you sort of alluded to, it would seem pretty odd for a couple of misdemeanor counts of indecent exposure to generate the type of response that happened at this house. I would also be very interested to see what this search warrant said, what the basis for the search warrant was, how they were able to obtain such a search warrant, because I have a hard time believing, first of all, if all it was an arrest warrant, then none of this could have happened. So clearly it wasn't just those charges, because if it were, they would have a simple arrest warrant. They would ask for Mr. Siders Jr. to come out, and that would have been the end of it. Yeah. So obviously there was more there.
Yeah, that's true. That's what we're saying, dude. That's what we're screaming. So yeah, your client's son's up to no good.
I'm sure that I and all of my other colleagues who are representing the co-defendants will all be very interested to see what the basis for the search warrant was.
Mm-hmm. So your next step, obviously, is to go to the jail in Southeast Ohio, meet with Gary Siders Sr., and meet your client and talk to him and see what he has to say.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the first step, again, is ensuring that he is competent. That's going to be a concern just based on what I myself have been able to view in the public, and same thing the public has seen. And then make sure I explain to him the process, the procedure. I don't really know what Mr. Siders' criminal history is like, or what involvement he's had with the court system. So after I determine he is competent, if in fact he is, which again, that is a question at this point, but if I'm able to determine that he is competent, and even if he's not, my best attempt is going to be to explain the process, the procedure, what the next steps are. And again, as we sort of talked about.
Maybe good luck trying to explain, y'all. Or people say he can't hear, and I don't know what else he's got. He had strokes. I don't know how bad his condition is. Kelly, if they saw the children in danger during an arrest, well, they didn't see the kids apparently. They discovered the children in a 12-by-12 room once they entered the home. So there was obviously already a search warrant to enter that home. We just don't know why yet. Once they did, they discovered the children. They were there for a parallel investigation, a whole other investigation, right? And found the kids in the meantime. during their investigation. So that's wild. So there's that attorney. He's just big mad about the description of the scene by the authorities, worried about how that's going to affect us out here talking about it, basically. And he's doubling down on they're just poor America and we just can't convict them because they're poor. That's normal. That is not normal. So shut up, dude. He's got nothing to offer that old man. I don't know. Well, he's not some high profile attorney like Alan Jackson, is he? No. He needs to get with current events. I don't know what he needs to get with. It would really help if they would get the discovery and then form an opinion and then maybe come out and do a little media tour on their client's behalf. Like, this case is big, dude. It just popped off. You don't know that old man. You don't know what's going on, but here you are. They're just poor America. Let me go ahead and do damage control since the prosecutors have already come out, right, and laid that third world country flies on the children, feral conditions, all the things that he's mad about. He's out here doing damage control on that now, or trying to at this point. So good luck. You're gonna need a little more than you up there being a talking head at this point. We require more, sir. We require a hell of a lot more. You better get to getting some medical records and tests and stuff. No, I agree. Like, why even do that yet? Hadn't even met with his client yet. Hadn't even met with the client. Had not received discovery. But here I am on Anjanette Levy Law and Crime giving an interview. Excuse us. Are you going to look real stupid to us later? Are we going to laugh at you? Because we will. Fresh out of law school, Rocky Mountain hippie coming in. Fresh out of law school, big case, making a name for himself, he thinks, right? What else could it be? Does he think that's going to help? A case like this, of all cases, is going to be that case, right? No. Sir, you got it, America, wrong on what we will and will not support. Right? Oh, thank you, Nona, for sending some silver stars. Sent silver stars. Thank you for that. Appreciate that support. Guys, this case is baffling because none of us can wrap our heads around how you could do this to your kids, how nobody could know, how this family, my bigger question is the family, right? Just what do y'all know? What did you know? According to her brothers, they didn't know a lot, hadn't seen her in years. They were making the post on Facebook as well. Pretty much immediately, they started posting on Facebook. We pulled those up on our last show and went through some of those. Let me see. Now, there was another local reporter there that's doing a really good job too. I wanted to play a piece of her for a minute. Okay, is it this? Let me make sure I have it correct. Okay, this has got a little bit of information about the warrant they had on him already. The 4 counts, right, of indecent exposure. So this is a local reporter there, and this is what she had found out.
In Vinton County Court today, I obtained these 4 counts filed against Gary Siders Jr. for public indecency. Records show BCI filed all 4 counts against Siders Jr. on Wednesday, the same day they removed the 16 children from his home. Agents wrote, Siders recklessly exposed his private parts at his address and could likely be viewed by those near him who were not members of his family. The days of these violations, May 23rd, May 26th.
Exposed himself at his home, but doesn't say how or what he was doing. to where others could see him. So that will make sense to be peeing off the porch, but is that it?
7th, May 29th, and May 31st. This might indicate BCI agents were conducting surveillance on the Siders' home before this week. The search warrant in BCI's initial case has yet to be unsealed. I then came to the offices of Hamden Village. I wanted to know if there was any running water inside the Siders' home. The water department tells me yes, and there has been since 2023 in the name of Christine Siders. However, they told me they could not provide any more information. So I filed a public records request. I wanted to know when Christine Siders' account was open, how many times a meter reader was there to check on the water usage, and if there has been any other calls for service.
She's like, I am asking the questions, and I like it.
I already asked investigators about the owner of this property. I want to know who gave the Siders permission to stay here. A woman who died last year, she was in her 90s, owned this property. This property and others went into a trust. Today, I tracked down the trustee. I wanted to know if she allowed the Siders to stay here, if they were paying rent, if she was checking on this property, and if she knew about all of these kids. Her husband came out and talked to me to say his wife did not want to talk to me. In Vinton County, I'm Chief Investigator Lisa Rontola.
Interesting, right? A little house and a little family trust somewhere. How is that person affiliated with Christina? Are they friends? Family? Do they know each other? Do they rent the house? Do they let them live there for free? Who takes care of the property, right? Somebody's paying the property taxes, so it's got to be the trust. We still have questions. Okay, so that was her reporting. There's a lot of debate out there and a lot of posts going on about the mother to all these children. And I feel like a lot of people are telling us how we're supposed to feel about her right now. I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about her right now, right? I'm open to learn things, but right now, I don't know what to think about her. I'm not ready to give her a free out on anything yet. You know, I do get that she was a very young girl, a child, when her children began to be born. I don't know how much abuse, if any, she suffered at the hands of Gary. How deep that went. What is that? How that affects her today. Oh, there's a lot you could unpack there with that one, right? So it's kind of like breaks on with that one until I think we're going to learn more as we move through it, but I don't know what that's going to mean, right, for us and how we look at things. So there's a lot of people out there who feel they need to come out and say, you know, we have to support until we know. But at the same time, it's like, well, we will if we know more, but at the same time, it's hard too. So don't give us flack for all thinking the same thing. It's just we should be able to sit in a place where we're like, damn, that's a lot, and you better come, you know, with some really good evidence to convince us something else was going on there other than what we were thinking. Because we don't know what to think at this point. Is all that a result of some sort of, we know somebody's abusing somebody in that household. Who's conducting all the abuse? Is it Gary and Elizabeth together? Like, we're going to abuse our children. We'll abuse your parents, you know, the in-laws. Fuck that. We're just abusing. It could be. They could both be seriously mentally ill to the point where they just abusing everybody. We don't know what even causes that or creates that, right? What creates people like that? What gets them to that point in life? Has there been serious mental illness all along? If there was, nobody in the family ever spoke up about, y'all shouldn't be having so many children, and be concerned about where those kids were. And if it's true that Gary's sister was notifying Elizabeth's mother every single time a new baby was born, then y'all all were aware of how many kids this girl was having. Nobody ever talked to her or him. I don't know what if they were. They just weren't listening. They weren't having it. They just kept having the babies. It's wild. Nothing wrong with having that big family. By God, but you better be prepared to take care of them and love them and all the things that go with it. Have at it if you can afford it and do it. Otherwise, you got, be fair to the kids. They cost a lot of money. Trust us parents out here. We know you need to try to provide the best you can. The more you have, the harder it is, right? Where are they now? Because they were all responsible for her. Elizabeth's parents, well, in Ohio, her mom is out there, Lori Russell. Her name is out there. Because Elizabeth's brothers were posting on Facebook, so now, of course, their mom's name is out there. And the brothers say they haven't seen her. According to the brothers on Facebook, their posts say they have not seen her in, at least 15 years. At least. And they were the ones, her parents signed for her to get married at 15 when they crossed the state line into Virginia. Ohio won't let them do it. Florida won't let you do it. You cross over to Alabama, parental consent. Well, it used to be that way. They may have changed it now. Alabama, they caught up with some stuff after a few years. But back in the day, that's how it was done. You didn't get married in Florida, but you could cross that state line, take a parent with you, sign off on it, and you're getting married. I knew a couple girls who did it. I was like, oh, hell no. I don't want to marry nobody, especially across no state line. Yeah, that's what happened in this case. So her parents signed off on it. Yeah, weird, right? And if I'm getting notified that my daughter is having baby after baby after baby, and I don't know where she is or I'm going to be asking the sister-in-law that's calling me, look, you're constantly calling me telling me my daughter's having a baby. You could at least tell me where the hell she's at. Because I got to take a ride going to see my daughter and putting my eyes on these babies. So, yeah, there's a lot of I feel like the questions everybody has about what about the school? What about, welfare services? What about all the church, if they were getting the pantry items, all these things, the Dollar General worker. What about the family of these people? Because I expect them to be the ones to step up before the girl at the Dollar General is going to feel comfortable enough to take that step. Even though she said her store smelled for a good 10 minutes once the family left. Like, what? She was probably in there using all the free Dollar General air freshener she could get her hands on. Man. There's some, the father is out there, but so the brothers said, I have to go back to the post, something about their father had so Elizabeth's father allegedly had a rough childhood. Sister was murdered. Grandma passed. He was orphaned at some point, raised by the system, basically. And so there's a lot out in it. I don't know. So good stuff with him out there. And I saw some rumblings about one of the two brothers that was speaking out, but I don't know what all that means yet. So I've left that alone. I just know they're speaking out about their sister, right? And they even went so far as to say, was she groomed, right? Because of her young age and the fact that when she did marry him, they said she took off almost immediately and was separated from the family. Because originally, Elizabeth and Gary Jr., her husband, they just lived 2 doors down from each other, right? So What do these family members know? They obviously knew each other from way back, right? And then you got one keeping another one informed of all the babies being born. So again, I'm like, nobody got together at Christmas like normal people? Fuck, Thanksgiving, Easter? Shit. Granny's birthday. God dang, I don't know. What's going on, y'all? Oh, thanks, Jay, for coming in and listening to this. It's a sad case. It's heavy, right? It's a heavy case, but if there's makes us all wonder, what will we notice that across our street? I'm in a rural area. We're not close, but am I going to notice when I ride by their house? Am I staring all up in their windows? That house is close to the little road, right? But am I staring in their damn windows? I think I might notice that if I'm that close to the road and I'm riding by. I'm like, damn, they got shit piled up in the windows, right? But how much attention do we pay? I think we see the comings and goings, especially in the rural areas. We pretty much know who's coming and going out here. If you're a stranger in town, we're going to be knowing it, right? But if none of the neighbors ever saw the kids didn't go outside to play. They only went to the Dollar General at night right before closing to help get the vegetable oil, apparently. It's wild, y'all. I don't know what I would do if I was a Dollar General worker and this family came in all the time to buy vegetable oil and sometimes sugar and had these little stinking children with them and everybody smelled, and I'm offering clothes and hygiene. If it was ongoing, how eventually you might get concerned that what if those parents have mental illness and can't care for their children? I would not be able to sleep at night. I would go through all the scenarios in my head. Oh, Jesus. I would be up all night. It would be a whole thing. But there's a lot, we don't know much more than that, guys. We did learn now that she did have another set of twins that passed away. That's been confirmed. And that blows me away when I realized when the date was given. I was like, wait a minute. Because I went to the list of the dates we already have on the other children to see if that was one of the years we'd already discussed where she did, because she did skip a couple of years where there wasn't any children born. So I went to see, and I was like, oh, wait a second. We already had a set of twins in that year. We got another set now. I can't believe it. February, a set of twins. November, a set of twins. And that's the set of little twins that didn't make it. Bless their little hearts. Oh, the pictures. Let's get the pictures shown before we go for the night. All right, we'll review the photos again so we like our visuals. Now, what we were talking about earlier, Dolphin, was this picture that everybody's noticed going around, right? Her mugshot, this mark on her arm, and it's circled here and highlighted or zoomed in, of course. Bruising. What kind of mark is it? I don't know. It could be a lot of things in my mind. It could have been a handcuff mark. It could have been where she was tied. It could have been a grab mark. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know how long. I don't know. One thing I also can't tell, because the image is blurry. I don't know how old that bruising is. It appears that it may not be too old. Is it what stage of healing? You know what I mean? There's a lot that my forensic brain and I want to zoom in and what's the stage of this bruise, right? But yeah, who knows what it means yet. There's not one on the other arm to match. I noticed that. So speculation, we don't know yet. Could be Dolphin restraint. I don't know. But it could, like I said, could have been a handcuff that she pushed her handcuff way up and I don't know. Was she rubbing it? I don't know. Or was she restrained in the home? Did Gary Jr. keep her chained to something? Only to let her go to have a baby? Possibility. We don't know yet. Right? So it's hard to say. If she was confined in that home, she was able to go to the Dollar General to get the oil, but the lady said that she wasn't allowed to talk to anybody. right? And the kids had their hair in front of their face like Cousin It. And again, this was that would be the front porch area where we're all assuming Gary Jr.'s hanging out there exposing himself to the neighbors, to the people, to the public all on their road. And that was an image of the garbage piled up inside of the home. You could clearly see. And that attorney's up there telling us that's just poor America. That's how they live. Y'all get over it. Jesus Christ. Like, dude, I am so no, fuck no. I mean, I want to cuss that guy out right now. Idiot. And we have this photo. This is apparently, allegedly, in the center, Linda, the sister to Gary, one of the daughters to the old couple here, the grandparents of the home. And look, notice they're on the green chairs. Underneath the green chair, you can see the cat bowl, the cat food bowl. Their daughter is visiting them at this home. And this was allegedly back in April. She did not know those 16 kids were living in those conditions. Could she not see in the fucking window like we could? You didn't go in your mom and your daddy's house concerned where mama got dementia and daddy can't hear, had a stroke. You didn't go in their fucking house and see if their conditions were good to go, that mama had a good bath and all she needed. Huh? You didn't fix daddy something to eat at the kitchen? What kind of daughter are you, ma'am? And then we have this, a younger Elizabeth there on the left with blonde hair. Her mother, Facebook post from August 24th of 2020. Happy birthday to my daughter Elizabeth. Hard to believe. My youngest is 28 today. Love you, Mom and Dad. But I'll go sign for you to get married, baby girl. Don't you worry. What happened to Elizabeth, guys? Truly. Is she a victim? Are we ready to make that call, or we need more evidence? Is it super easy to say, oh, throw the stake at all of them, fuck them all? Yes, it is. It's harder to say, I don't know yet, but I'm going to say it right now. That's just my opinion. And everybody's welcome to disagree wholeheartedly, right? It's hard to give this one an out. It's hard to give any child abuser an out, right? Ever. I wonder what the grand jury indictment will return, though, right? What type of charges, what kind of information can the children tell them, right? They have to interview each one of these kids. We've heard they're nonverbal, some of them. So we don't know what level of communication they're able to even have with the investigators. So all that has to still be conducted to get to any, if other types of abuse was occurring. Like we've all wondered as far as who are the parents of these children, who are the mothers, right? Y'all know, I gotta be careful with the way I word it for the YouTubes. Were any of the young girls in the family also mothers to some of those children? That was some of the concerns we have. We can't help it. We would be foolish not to ask that question. Was Junior the only father to the children? So we hear there are DNA tests underway according to reports. Like I said, still so many unanswered questions, y'all. Prenatal care for this girl, what the doctors or the clinics see, hospital staff that took care of her during these births of these children, past DCF reports, school records, shot records, any of these children have any kind of pediatrician follow-ups over the years, you know, who knows, other than being born to the hospital that we know of so far. So, but when more information comes in, guys, we'll get to it. Now, Dolphin, what did we say Thursday? Is Thursday the Tepe hearing? Guys, we're following a couple cases in Nancy Guthrie's. I can't even right now with that thing. That entity that's becoming that weird case of the YouTubes. I don't want to, whatever. Nothing happening in the Nancy Guthrie case. So I was trying to get caught up on my other cases that we're following. And David, of course, had his hearing this morning. We're going to be getting the prelims starting the 21st. And let me get this. Was it Thursday, Dolphin? Hang on, guys, because I was talking to her about this and we were looking it up because we had to get our update on his ass. I think he has court on Thursday. I don't know where my notes went on him. Oh, yeah, didn't you put it on there? I know it was coming up August 24th. So his next scheduled date is August 24th at 9 a.m. The hearing will take place at the Franklin County Courthouse in Columbus. He faces charges of aggravated. There was somebody that we were talking about that had something on Thursday, though. So check your calendar. Yeah, the 24th. Who was we thinking on Thursday, though? It was David today and somebody was on Thursday. I'll have to check my notes, guys, and make sure that I may have that completely backwards. I might be having that mixed up with something else. You never know. So we're following up on these court dates and trying to make sure we keep up with when they're happening so we can bring the updates. So far, I don't know if we're going to get cameras for David's stuff coming up or not. We'll see. Those kids will need so much help, Rachel. I mean, there's a lot, especially the ones that have even the greater, more special needs, right? We don't even know the extent of special needs that may be involved and what level. So a lot. That's a lot of kids. It just reminds me of the Turpin children, you know, and they didn't have a lot of disabilities, but they didn't know a lot. They never saw the light of day either. They were only allowed to go outside at night to pick the fucking weeds in the front yard, right? They never got to go outside, never got food. But the boy, damn mom and daddy had a refrigerator full of the shop. I've seen the pictures, seen the disgusting photos of what those kids lived in. Broke my heart. And then to know that those kids were rescued, put in foster care, and a couple of them were abused in that foster home, and those foster parents are now incarcerated because of it. The Turpin children. That's all I could think about when this case happened. I was like, oh shit, not again. Not again. And the Turpins lived in a much bigger, nicer home, but it was just as much shit inside of it. Nothing. I must have been thinking something else, Dolphin, when I thought Thursday. I don't know why I have Thursday on my brain for whatever reason. Something's going to happen on Thursday then. Oh, Maureen O'Connell still thinks there's a chance they're going to get the porch guy. Not as high as 75% as she first predicted, but maybe, did she say 70 or 65 now? I can't remember. Oh, I think they went live again earlier. I don't know. I think Dan was having issues with his live button. All right, guys. I'm going to let y'all go. I'm going to go rest my voice. They were out at the field earlier doing some stuff, and I'm like, what are they? I don't even know what they planted this year. If they planted the peanuts, it's going to really irritate me. We don't know how much is happening, Faye, but y'all be careful out there. Like I said, there is a fake AI video of these children allegedly being rescued from the 12 by 12 room. I saw it, and it's not them, right? That has not been released. The body cam footage is not out there. I would not be surprised if the FOIA requests have not been sent in by Plunder already for that specific information. In fact, I haven't even checked her feed to see if she's got anything new over there, if she's done anything. Because remember, she hadn't done anything on YouTube's with it. She was all doing it over there on her okay, Every time I turn on a social media, I see something. I'm like, what now? What now? She's got information about the waiving of the prelims. Her brother, Jeremy Russell, who's been posting on Facebook, says, my sister and her husband really do their best to their IQ. What? What is he saying? Hang on. I don't know what. Okay, so this is a post by Plunder from 4 hours ago. And according to Carla from Rogner there from TV, at the last minute today, all four waived their right. We saw that. Waived the right to the prelim. The media sat around for a couple of hours in the Benton County courthouse as attorneys spoke with prosecutors. Then the lawyers came out to speak to the media. Tommy Stolley is working to determine if ElizabethSiders is a victim, and though she doesn't consider herself a victim, they want Elizabeth's bond lowered as well as Gary Sr.'s. So they were asking for her lower bond as well. As of this writing, none have been indicted by the grand jury yet. Gary Jr. is scheduled to appear in court Thursday on the public indecency charges. Maybe that's where I got Thursday from. So Thursday, he is supposed to appear on the indecency charges, okay? Now, this is what Elizabeth's brother Jeremy just posted on Facebook, apparently blaming Gary Jr. Here, let me pull this up where you guys can see it too. Okay. This is what Elizabeth's brother Jeremy posted on Facebook, apparently blaming Siders Jr. and Siders Seniors. He says, I assume, this is what I think, slap on the wrist, you cannot be charged for ignorance. The horror stories is not true. Nothing is true. My sister and her husband did do their best to their IQ. Allowance is the one to blame. Low IQ getting that money. Similar. I just like me only on plus 500 app. I'd be chasing that money with a bit higher IQ. Are you sure about that? Everything is misunderstood. Their hygiene, low IQ. He's blaming their hygiene on their low IQ. The man of the house is responsible at most. He is the leader, leading followers. That is what I think. Now, he did say something about a cult already. So he might be up. Wow. Okay. Wait, what's. Better be low as fuck. Dolphin, I don't want to hear a damn thing about that IQ. I mean, we can go. When did Jeremy which one posted this? Jeremy? Hang on. Like, is this dude talking a lot on the Facebook? His family's acting up. What is he talking about? Okay. Oh, yeah, he did. Okay, he's posted it directly on his. Okay. So this is her brother, Elizabeth's brother, the mother to all of the children. So we read the post over on Plunder's post. He says, this what I think. Slap on the wrist. You cannot be charged for ignorance. The horror stories is not true. Nothing is true. My sister and her husband really did do their best to their IQ. Allowance is the one to blame. Low IQ getting that money. Similar. I just like me only plus 500. I'd be chasing that money with a bit higher IQ. Everything is misunderstood. Their hygiene, low IQ. The man of the house is responsible at most. He is a leader. So he must be blaming Senior, because up here he says my sister and her husband really do their best. So, dude. I don't know who's going to be lucky one day. I could not tell you his business. I don't know care. Don't care. Yesterday he says, my family been acting super immature, giving the Russells a bad name. We really do seek respect. My dad has earned his life from the bottom, with no parents, father not capable, mother deceased, age 2, grandparents deceased, homeless children's home there on after 18, sister was murdered, he was a teenager at the time, my father is a warrior. So that's describing the father of Elizabeth. Yeah, Dolphin, he was blaming Senior. He's blaming him as the head of the house there, and Junior is just being a product of his IQ. And he's wanting respect. Him and his family really do seek respect. Elizabeth's family. See, there was, he says here on July 5th that you gotta a lot of Facebook investigators laugh out loud. You're in for a ride. I've been telling you all. My remorse, I don't care. I really don't. That's sad. I tried many times. Ask my ex. She knows. I was the one harassing. I love my sister. However, everyone knew about it. I told everyone, welfare supporters to the maximum. So state knows something. I don't get it. Just leave me alone. So see, there's indications there may have been reports to the state. I don't know. I don't know what's happening. Just reading it. I see myself as a rogue saint. I can turn up, blink of an eye. Also on June 30th, that was June 30th too. My sister just wrapped her life up due to indoctrination. It is 100% real. 20 kids and younger than me. Now there's 18, 19 including the one, and there's still talk of another one, y'all. I don't know about another one. I met this dude a couple months ago, and I don't know if he's referring to the brother-in-law that he says now's got an IQ issue. I met this dude a couple months ago, shook my hand like a baby with super soft hands. Definitely never worked a day in his life. I should have took him out that night. I was thinking about my sister. I was happy to see. Been 15 years. You lost touch with your family, followed another, and look what happened. Now, this was not long after all this broke, when that post happened. Oh, Dolphin, I'm assuming he already is. Yeah, that's his way. That's his way. Yeah. That's how a lot of folks be talking. This person says, you don't know me, but random question. Do you believe that your sister did it of her own free will, or do you think she was forced to keep having kids and have to live and parent a certain way? just going off of other comments from your brother about them not letting her come around the family. If she's a victim too, I'd love to send her a gift to help heal. And he replies, she did do it on her own free will at the beginning, and she disappeared. I don't know what happened after that. You guys are super the guy was super immature, probably jealous, plus the income tax at the beginning of the year. The family was welfare supporters. I don't know what he means by that word salad. The guy was super immature, okay, meaning Gary Jr., I guess, jealous, plus the income tax at the beginning of the year. So some income tax return, and then the family welfare supporters. Okay. Y'all know what you're dealing with. And he's got some posts about Ukraine. I don't know. Stock market, all prior, right? 80 degrees today and unbearable. Dude, I'm in Florida. Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth, Jeremy. Fuck, Florida don't want to hear it. Florida don't want to hear your struggles, sir. It's 90 in New Jersey at 9 a.m. Yeah, okay. It's above 90 here in Florida at 9 a.m. usually. Y'all get the gist. Anyway, yeah, so he's talking about the brother-in-law there. Yes. In that one. But in the other one, he spoke up Jeremy and the dad in the same one, one, and then this one, yeah. Could have, because the only way in a lot of states you get the tax break is earned income credit for the children, right? So the more kids you would have, the more money you would get back. They got a cap on it now, though. A lot of states do. It doesn't matter if you've got. Now, I don't have kids, so I may be wrong on how it works now specifically. But I think it's like it doesn't matter if you got 2 kids, 5 kids, the tax credit's the same, right? It's not like you get more per each, all 16. But I don't know about Ohio's child tax credit. So factor in all that, y'all, when you're looking into all that. But yeah, could he be saying they're just getting it? All they're going to do is get a big fat income tax return every year. That's what you would do. You just get a real big fat income tax returned every year off of your earned income credit for those babies. Because it costs so damn much to raise them in America. Fucking diapers. Wipes. I ain't using my shit. And I ain't washing them damn diapers. Yeah, there's probably people. There's already everybody running the financial angle. This was for money. Well, they might have got some benefits, but I beg to differ that it's not all about the money. So where the fuck was that money going? Certainly wouldn't to decorate that house and keep it clean, right? So they probably did get some benefits along the way, y'all, but I don't know the extent of any of it. They damn sure wouldn't put it. Whatever they were getting, they were not putting to good use. Some states require that you pay state income, some do not. Florida doesn't. Alabama does. So I don't know the rules and the regulations out there in the Ohio land. It's sick to have kids for funding, but I don't think they just had all those kids for money. Let me just that's my opinion. I don't think all these children were born for money, y'all. So somebody could live high on the hog and eat a good dinner every night. Not what we got here. That's too simple to say. There's way more going on in this house than having babies to support ourselves and get money from the state. Far too much. Can't be the sole reason. We live in a country where it's all about money and telling lies. Huh. Simi, are you running feral in the chat? Are you running amok, you little wild thing? You see, I'll scroll up. She's a, me too. I'm starting to get a little tired. I'm gonna get feral too if I don't watch myself. There's always that one gonna spill the tea, Dolphin. Always, right? Faye, you've sent some floating hearts. Thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate you. All right, guys. I'll let you go for the night. We'll keep an eye on all the updates that are happening out there. And see what pops up overnight. Depending on how I feel tomorrow with this voice and all, I'll be back tomorrow with some updates. Get caught up on some things. If not, I will see you when I see you. Y'all, thank you for coming in. Hit the thumbs up and all the good things if you don't mind. I appreciate you. And I'll see you when I see you. And y'all know the rules. We don't have many, but be safe on them YouTube streets. It's a hell of a ride. It's a hell of a journey.
Thank you all for watching this here video.